And we are back. Let me break this down. Move it up here. Move this here. Fix that. Actually, this. Hey, how's it going, everyone? How's everybody doing today? How have all of you been? Goku solos, type shit. And we're back. Oh, man. Hello. I am well rested. I am very well rested. I really didn't need this vacation. It was more so one of these family things where, you have to, well, not really have to, but, the family wants to do something. They want us to go out, have fun, do all these things. And it kind of ended up taking a little bit longer than I wanted to originally. But, hey, we're happy, we're grateful, we're back. And I am happy to see, hopefully, that everybody is doing well. How has your summer been, folks? How has your summer been? I'm going to put this on vibrate just so that I don't it doesn't sound too back. Grading Sleepy Bean here. All right, that's enough of that. How's everybody's summer been? How's everybody's summer been? Man, feels good to be back. Ho. Actually, wait, that's wrong. So this is how you know I haven't been back in a minute. Gotta move this to the side, and it's the chat that I gotta move to the right. Here we go. Let me just fix this. You guys have had a good summer? You guys have had a good time? Had a beanless summer? That's what I love to hear. Exactly. Me just started a 24-page chapter and unsure how to finish it. It do be like that. Writing is a difficult thing. I don't think I would be very good at writing, though. Yeah, you never know. Your story is definitely interesting, Drake. I'd actually be interested in giving it a very good check. You late fellow Unk. Listen, bro. First of all, I ain't no Unk. Great summer. Lovely. Superman was goated. Did you guys like Superman? I haven't checked that movie out. I haven't checked out the Fantastic Four either. I'm not really a big movie goer. But, I've been checking out a couple things lately. I did get a chance. As a return, I won't bean you today. I appreciate that, Zod. But if you do, I'm gonna fucking have to mute you again. Just kidding. There's a couple of things I wanted to go over with you guys. Superman was great. I'm happy to hear that. I'm not really a fan of Superman as a character. Not as so much as a character, just the concept of Superman bores me a lot. Just the whole invulnerable flying, the whole flying invulnerable super strong superheroes like that. It just seems so boring to me. But I'm happy that people are enjoying it though. All things considered, it might not be for me, but I do think that well, not so much the movie, the character, but I am glad that people are definitely enjoying it. Same with Fantastic Four. I'm really happy to hear that. I saw a scene where Mr. Fantastic was getting pulled by Galactus, and there was a conversation that was popping up over the internet whether or not Luffy could get pulled like that and survive, and I'm just probably. Good movie, actually. Lovely. Hey, how's it going, Brown Pants? How have you been? It had a clear message. Lovely. Are you caught up with the One Piece chapters? Yes, I am. We can actually go over those today. We're gonna go over a lot of things. I'm gonna be with you guys for about 2 to 3 hours. Can say in this Superman movie does have proper challenges. He's strong and powerful, but it's a good balance of his abilities, yet earns his victories. Yeah, that's to me one of the most important things when it comes to fiction, where the characters that are being the characters that you see fighting, the overpowered heroes or villains, they get put up with a proper challenge that isn't simply taken out by character is just stronger. The iterations of Superman that I've heard, that from at least the ones that I've been told that seem to interest me the most, are actually the ones where Superman isn't as overpowered as some of his other iterations. How am I feeling on rocks? We will get over that. My vacation was great. So to give you guys complete context, my sister wanted to. I have an older sister. She wanted to essentially set up a trip for our family. Our father is very old. He's in his later years, so we wanted to essentially have a fun little family trip where, we can go to a bunch of different places, see a lot of different things, and, just be able to spend as much time with him as possible. Not because he's sick or anything. He's actually very healthy, all things considered. One of his legs is a little bit, he can walk very well and everything. It's just like one of his legs is just a little bit, like, weak. But he can walk, no need for, like, any assistance or any of that stuff. We ended up going to Europe, actually. It was beautiful, honestly. I got to eat a lot of pizza, which was fantastic. Absolutely great. Italian food is really good when you're eating it from the fucking source. And I knew that I wasn't in the wrong when I would eat my pizzas with a fork and knife. Apparently, the Italians also eat their pizzas with a fork and knife. So, everyone else is wrong, and I'm on the right side of history. Fantastic. Got a chance to go through a bit of Spain. I'm not actually able to really eat like greasy or fast foods for the most part. In Spain, they have these things called, Spain tapas. In Spain, they have these thing called tapas, which are like appetizer snacks. A lot of these are actually, a lot of these are like fried foods. It was a bit difficult for me to like have to go through some of these just because like they can end up being bad for me. But overall, I really did enjoy the cuisine. Most of the stuff that I really did enjoy was actually the cuisine. You eat pizza with a fork and knife, disgusting. I thought better of you. Hey, I'm eating it how the people who made the shit intended to eat the thing, man. I'm on the right side of history. It's meant more to be cut up and eaten. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, man. Like, I don't know. Italians eat their pizza with a fork and a fucking knife, man. That's all I'm saying. This shit right here, this is not pizza to me, right? Real Italian pizza. Real Italian Sicily. Actually, I don't even think we didn't go to Sicily. We mostly went to Rome. This is the type of shit that I'm trying to eat, man. After you had this stuff, everything everything else to me now is trash, bro. Where I live, fuck the pizza, man. I want to eat this every fucking... As a matter of fact, I got to a point where I was starting to get tired of pizza. But we had like a 5-cheese pizza, man. I heard of 4 cheeses, man. You guys have never seen a 5-cheese pizza. This stuff right here, I thought to myself for a moment, I would probably never eat a pizza that doesn't at least have some kind of topping. I don't like pepperoni specifically. Hey, don't say that about Italians. Italians are the goats. You know what's crazy? Like, I never thought I would be able to eat like a pizza that didn't at least have some level of toppings, because just a regular cheese pizza from New York is absolute dog shit to me. But like, Italian 5-cheese pizza, 4 or 5-cheese pizza, man, absolutely the fucking best thing not the best thing I've ever had, but it's definitely up there. You think Rodgers is a fraud? I do not believe that Rodgers is a fraud. I think that Oda just likes to write in these EMC squared, KFC squared type shit. Bro went to the hood part of Italy. I went to the best parts of Italy. Fuck is you talking about? We went to Florence too. We kind of only went to like Rome and Florence, but it was actually pretty nice. You know what's crazy? I was actually kind of tired of like Italian food because we were there for like over a week and a half, and I got to the point where I was eating like poke bowls from this Asian spot like 2 blocks away from where I lived. Those poke bowls were fucking fantastic, by the way. You ever had like tuna with like pineapple? Fucking fantastic, man. My coworker's soon going to Italy as well. Hey, man, honestly, love that for them. Italy is honestly like a very beautiful place. One of the things that I love to do actually was and I'll see if I can like set up a doc so that you guys can actually see some of my some of the places that we went to, because in all real like in all honesty, Rome was a very beautiful place. I'm the type of person that I don't really get a lot out of going to like museums or like a lot of like the touristy spots. It's not really for me. You see the Pope? I technically saw the Pope. They were actually like what is it? The Vatican, not the Vatican Square. I didn't go to the Vatican. It was not the Fountain of Trevi. What's the place called what's the place in Rome where the Pope, not Vatican City, where the Pope blesses people? Forgot what the fuck this place is called. People. This place right here. It's this area like right here. This area right here. I forgot what it was called. Peter's, St. Peter's Basilica. St. Peter's Basilica. Yeah, the Basilica di Santo Peter or San Pedro, or whatever the fuck his name is. Yeah, this place, we actually went to this place right here. The outside though. Outside. Yeah, right here. We were actually like around this area. If I remember right, our hotel, or not hotel, our motel, our Airbnb was like somewhere going here, down that road, all the way like back here. I remember that like when we stuck our, that like we were around this area right here, the Pope was actually, I don't recall exactly. I recall that he was like on this window right here. Let me see if I can get close up. Let me see if I can get like, oh no, we can't get a close up. That's fine. What the fuck was it to like zoom in? The fuck was it to like zoom in? How do you zoom in again? How do you? Yeah, anybody remember like they re-roomed? Yeah, pretty much. Oh, okay, right here, right here. So the Pope was actually like in this window over here. I was sitting like all the way around like over here. There was like a big monitor around this area that was like showing you where the Pope was, and I'm pretty sure like the camera was around like right here. I was trying to, I don't really care about like the religious aspect of things. It was mostly for like my family, but I was kind of like just trying to figure out like, okay, so like if the Pope is right here, the camera's like probably like around here, because like we were seeing, I wasn't really paying attention. I was mostly on my phone listening to music, but we could definitely see like some monitors around here where you can like get a closer image of the Pope. It was pretty cool, man. It was pretty sweet. It's called an orange tortilla. Alrighty then. Say room. Yeah. But yeah. Hey, you went to vacation too? Yeah, it was pretty sick, man. I went to the aviation museums in Manassas yesterday for Aviation Day. Hey, that's awesome, man. How was that? How was that, IMAX? It's called Munius. Alright. Yeah, we didn't actually go. Well, I think my mom and my sister went to the Vatican. I was back in the Airbnb, and I think I walked around for a bit because I'm not really a religious guy, and I've already been out there once. You're gonna crash out this time? I'll crash. You guys are gonna get a crash out for me in a bit, because I do have to talk about Bleach, and that shit's been pissing me off. Roger became the Pirate King after getting on hands and knees begging for Odin. Bro has lost so much aura. Listen. You don't become Pirate King by being top of the fucking verse. You become Pirate King by being the most humble, freest person in the fucking seven seas, man. And that's exactly what my boy Luffy is. What's up, Mr. Pillow? What's up, Arashikage? Man, I'm just saying, if I played ping pong with the Pope, he would probably thrash me. I'm actually terrible at a pong. But it'd be cool to visit 100% too. Part of the things about Rome that I really just enjoyed is actually the architecture. I love being able to like just walk around these cities and getting lost in like maybe the passageways, many of like the little alleys that they have. Rome didn't really have a lot of these alleys, but the streets were 100% fucking beautiful, man. One of the things that I definitely loved, doing was like walking with my mom around the sunset, because around like this time of year in Italy, because it's like lower, it was like closer to the equator, the sun doesn't start going down until like 10-ish p.m., which really gave you some like wonderful evenings. I actually had to have a conversation with Hashiburidana Kaio Krim. How you been, man? Who you gonna goon to? It's Sakura, right? I'm not gooning to nobody, man. I'm not gooning to anybody. We're past gooning. Did you mean Blech, as you've been calling Bleach? Yeah, no, I mean Blech. Fuck Blech, man. I hate Blech. I've been reading Blech, by the way. I'm up to chapter 221, guys. I'm not sure if I'm gonna read it on stream, but there are a couple things about Blech that I need to go over, man. You want to visit the catacombs? The catacombs are sick, man. We actually didn't get a chance to go over those, but they were one of those things that I was kind of interested in doing. So we went to Rome, we went to Spain, we went to Barcelona. Barcelona was really nice, all things considered. There were a lot of things about Barcelona that were beautiful. There was a park that I went to like years and years ago, like the first time I went there with some family. It's definitely one of like the prettiest locations. I'm definitely gonna try to make a doc and just upload a bunch of the images so I can like show them to you guys, because I do think that like overall it is very, very nice. And I would like to know what you guys think about like the photos that I've taken. I like to think I have a bit of an eye, not a bit of an eye for photography, but I do think that like sometimes I'm able to really capture some really nice moments. We did go to this big this like big church over here. I forgot what it was called. This shit was absolutely fucking insane. Like, just like the architecture from the inside. If I remember right, the guy who was constructing it, I think like they're still finishing it today. I think it was like his son had to like take over the construction for it, and I think like they ended up having to like pass it down for like multiple generations. What else did we do? We went to Paris. We went to Paris, France. Paris was fucking great, man. The only issue was that, like, the place we were staying at had, like, no AC, which wasn't an issue because Paris isn't honestly all that hot, at least throughout, like, the evenings. But we did have to have, like, the windows open. The only issue was that we were, like, on the first floor. By the way, the Eiffel Tower, it is really just a fucking tower that lights up. And I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm kind of all for it, but we went there around the time that it was like their Day of Independence or like Paris Day, so we got to see some awesome like fireworks, which was the most interesting part of it. We also got to like actually travel down like a boat for like the like a big boat to like see Paris at night. It's not as bright of a city as you'd think in the nights. It's really not as bright as you'd think. But it is a very beautiful city. I tried escargot. I don't know if you guys have ever tried, escargot. That shit, I'm not gonna lie, escargot is so ass. At least to me. I'm sure that, like, maybe if, like, somebody else prepared it or, like, they put on, like, some different kind of sauce, it would be better. I didn't get it with, like, the shell. I ended up getting it, like, in a little dish. Where like they were all like separated, but it got to a point where I'm like, all right, I spent about 14 euros on this thing. I have to, and I really meant have to, like, just finish it. I'm the type of person that, like, especially if I'm paying for the food, I want to be able to eat every last bit of it, because I'm also not someone who like enjoys, you know, throwing their food away, unless like it's really something that I can't eat. This was it, for those of you that might not know, it's not like seafood or anything, it's literal snails. Like, they cook up these snails. It kind of looked, let me see if I can get like a closer image. Escargot, no shell. I kind of wanted it to be inside the shell, but oh yeah, this was more of what I ate. This shit right here is more of what I ate, man. Oh man, yeah, no, it is not like this though. It was just like the sauce. But yeah, it kind of did look like this, but with like a butter parsley sauce on top. This shit was not rancid. I don't even know how to describe it. They said it was like an earthy taste. I don't know how to describe it, man. I bit down into it. It was such like a strong, dominating flavor. Actually, yeah, it was closer to like something like this. It was quite literally closer to something like this. It was such like a weird, I don't know how to fucking describe it, honestly. But man, it was an experience. By the way, everyone, it is one of our mod, Six's birthday. Everybody, can we get some happy birthdays for Six all around? Happy birthday, man. Being one of the pillars of the community, always being insightful and talkative within the chats, always providing some very insightful scaling. Six, you are one of the most important members of this community, at least to me, and I really do want to wish you a happy birthday, man. Earthy taste isn't like as bad. To me, like in my head, it doesn't sound like horrible, but it definitely is like a combination of like a texture of like a like a chewy texture. The texture's not that bad, all things considered. Like, I could definitely chew on it, but it was so much the flavor that it got to the point where I was like, all right, I tried to eat one solo, I couldn't do it. I tried to eat another one to the point where, like, even with bread and fries, I needed to, like, kill the taste as quickly as possible. The other four, I basically had to, like, turn my head upward, expand my throat as much as I could, and just swallow it whole without tasting any of it, man. It was, again, I don't want to say rancid, but man, I'm never eating this shit again. But hey, at least I had it for once. Man, I closed it for no reason. We went to Madrid. Madrid was probably my favorite place, just because of the fact that A, I speak Spanish, so it was easy to communicate to, but B, there was a lot of history in Madrid that I didn't know about, like how there was a civil war that happened within the city itself that ended up actually creating a lot of different little, like, gunshot wounds all over the place. And if you pay attention to the city, at least if you pay attention, like, many of the buildings, no matter where you go, especially like some of like the older buildings, like down the Gran Via, you'll actually see like within the building, right, when you see like the color of the building, you'll actually see like some spots that are like slightly darker, and they were filled in from their civil war. It was actually pretty interesting. we kind of really only went to like 3 places, which honestly were all fantastic. And afterwards, I kind of just went back to like my mom's home country. Well, technically my home country, and we just stayed there, and we basically just continued to live there for. I continued just to stay there for like the next couple of weeks until I had to head back. It was I had to go do a couple of family celebrations, and from there on out, I kind of just headed back as soon as I could. Which country had your favorite food? Man, that is a good question. Definitely Italy. Definitely Italy. Italian food, you really can't go wrong with it. One of my favorite things to try out in Italy was actually this thing called gnocchi. They're kind of like, it's basically like a pasta, but the base is actually made of potato. And it's covered like in a tomato sauce with cheese on top. So think of it kind of like a pizza pasta, if you'd like to think of it that way. Ever since, hey, Leonardo da Vinci, what's up? Ever since watching you, you've changed my perspective of anime, power scaling, no glazing. I appreciate that, man. I like to think that, like, hey, fake, Madrid isn't real. Madrid, listen, man, you gotta go into the ether and kind of escape the, you gotta escape the ether, man. You gotta, like, go into it, but then escape it. You know what I'm saying? You know Invincible? I know of Invincible. Gnocchi's nuts. All right. Everybody, give Michael an applause. That was a good one. You have time for reactions? Yes, I'm gonna be doing 2 reactions to 2 videos that I've specifically looked at while I was out on vacation. 2 separate YouTubers, Six and Overgoat. If you guys have any recommendations for videos that you guys would like me to watch, I can take at least 1 more. I have time for Dark King. I have read the recent chapters. I have time for a good number of things. I can maybe stay with you guys up until like 6 p.m. I have to go do something else, because as soon as I got back, man, I ate just a lot of things. A lot of things around the house that I need to start taking care of. I like Six. Six is one of my favorite power scaling YouTubers. I really do respect many of his opinions. I do have some things I have to say over this, and some of the Gojo stuff that he's one of the Gojo content that he said before. But overall, I do enjoy his content. Him, Swaikage have definitely been some of the pillars of power scalers that I've wanted, that I've actually have really pushed me to make my own content, man. First and foremost, and then we have some stuff that you need to take care of with King and Omega and Boruto. This is a really nice image of Himawari. She definitely looks a lot more mature here, at least in terms of like height. I don't know why, but I feel like she almost feels like she's the same height as Sarada right now. I don't know. Maybe it's like the length of her legs right here. But I am not a fan of the inclusion of Kurama within I'm not really a big fan of the way that they've adapted Kurama into Two Blue Vortex, but we'll talk about that later. So what's your takes on Rock so far? Okay. We'll go over One Piece. Last. Actually, let me ask you guys a question. Hey Esther, how have you been, man? Actually, let's go over this first. Order of tasks. So our tasks are going to be review, reading, talk about Bleach, and review of One Piece so far. So let's do whatever order. By the way, hey, thank you for the $2. Hey, thank you for the $2, Jeff. I really do appreciate it. Hello, fellow. I'm still yapping about to the crash out. We're gonna get to the crash out reactions. By the way, whatever order we get, that's going to be, whatever the order of popularity in terms of the votes that we get, that's going to be the order in which I go about all of this stuff, right? So I'll just leave it up for a little bit. Reactions, recap for, recap/thoughts for One Piece and, Bleach. Blech. One Piece / Black, because fuck Bleach. Honestly, I'm so tired of Bleach, man. I'm only like 211 chapters in. I'm already so fucking tired of the series. Read through Kengan, Omega, and Burrito. Read through Kengan, Omega, and Burrito. And, what else do we have? Oh, no, I think that's really just it. I think that's just it. So where was your vacation? My vacations were in, Italy, Spain, and Paris. One of the things, actually, so just for context, I fucking hate mosquitoes, man. I hate mosquitoes. If there's one fucking bug that I hate besides cockroaches, it's fucking mosquitoes. When we were in Paris, the place that we were staying at, as I mentioned before, didn't have any AC, and I ended up killing. By the way, we're in Italy. Rome and Florence. We did Rome and Florence. They were very nice. My mom and my sister and my brother-in-law went to this other location, these other like 5 villages that they went, they woke up like around like 6 a.m. and they got ready to like leave out by like 7 a.m. by like the train station so they can go out to like these 5 villages. I don't know exactly where they went to. I think one of them was like the place, where like you see that movie, that like Pixar's movie, with like the guys that turn into like fishes or something, or like sea people, whatever the fuck it was. Luca Pixar movie. Yeah, whatever, like this town set in Italian Riviera. I think they went to like Riviera. They went there for like the day. Riviera, Italy. Yeah, they went to like this like region in Italy where like they went to like these 5 towns to check it out. I was too fucking tired to like wake up at 6 a.m. to go to this place, man. I kind of do regret it, but I'm still young. I can probably go like later in life and I'm able to like again afford one of these trips. But it was definitely nice, man. I really did enjoy Italy. Probably it was somewhere between like Italy and Madrid that I enjoyed the most, all things considered. Someone power scale Luca, we might have to do that. But like when it came to the mosquitoes, man, I kid you not, I think I killed like 20. Oh, you're Italian, Aster. Man, first of all, Italy, 100% beautiful. I actually studied a bit of Italian when I was in college. I love Italian. I love Italy. I love the food. The people are so kind. It's genuinely one of the most beautiful places I've ever been to. Rome was exceptional, especially in the evenings. I really wish I got a chance to like walk about the Colosseum a little bit more, but my family really likes to like stick together and they wanted to like leave. So for me, one of the things that I'd like to do the most is actually get a bit more of like time walking about in the nightlife, because I do love seeing like the cities light up at night. But I don't regret the trip at all. It was definitely beautiful, man. Stop gooning to become a man of culture. I've always been a man of culture. You guys just saw the gooning and thought, man, did you see a tall motherfucker with glasses there? I saw a lot of tall motherfuckers with glasses. That's all I'm gonna say. I saw the Hat Man. The Hat Man scares me. Cinque Terre, that's what it's called. Cinque Terre. Oh, okay. Cinque Terre. I haven't watched any Pixar's movie stuff, just ew. Really? You feel that way? I took Italian in 11th, 12th grade after taking Spanish 4th, 9th, and 5th. Really? Oh, so you speak a little bit? Or did you forget? I kind of forgot a lot of it. A certain man with a pink bird coat. Oh! You know what's crazy? You know what's crazy? I did bump into a guy like that, and I got a really fucked up haircut because of it. He kind of shaved my entire head out. I'm not gonna lie. But like when I got back to the apartment, I didn't even know I was fucking bald, man. That shit was crazy. Did you see any mimes? I didn't. Cinque Terre. Yeah. Okay. So, let's see, what are we at so far? You guys want to see the reactions? I'll give you guys like another minute to see if you guys can like break this little tie, and then from there on out, we're just gonna go. Damn, Dofi gave you a haircut? Yeah, he gave me a really fucked up haircut too. What's the closest analog that I could do it? Excuse me. No. I need the bird nest haircut. What's the bird nest haircut, you might ask? It's Yeah. I walked out of that. I walked back into my room and I was literally looking like this. I was trying to figure out what the fuck had happened. It was crazy, man. It was crazy. Like, I said sorry to the guy and everything, and he just started laughing. He just went as he walked away, and I'm just like, I guess he found my apology funny. Maybe he thought Americans were funny. And no, when I got back to the room, I was just looking like this, man. It was crazy. I didn't join a cult. He just shaved my fucking head. Anyway, not at all really for either language. I only remember che bella, bello. Oh, how beautiful. It's pretty funny. You've been to the capital of my country and I didn't. If you plan to go to Naples, I can give you some advice. I'd really appreciate that. I think the last time I went to Italy, I was actually in Naples, but I was very sick at the time. Like, that's a story for another time. But I was very sick at the time, so I didn't actually get a chance to see anything. And I thought I was alone and I didn't like Bleach's story and I found a world not that interesting. I respect it I respect that it belongs in the big three, but it's my least favorite. The thing about Bleach is that I feel like Kubo sometimes feels like a very inconsistent writer with the things that he says and writes. I don't know, man. It's crazy. Honestly, you gotta just throw hands after that. Listen, as soon as I got back into the room, it was like about what, like a mile and a half away. I was like, what the fuck had happened? And then I thought to myself, oh shit, it must have been that guy I bumped into. But by that point, I just didn't see him anymore. He was definitely like, you definitely couldn't miss him. You definitely couldn't miss him. But at that point, all I could do was just try to shave the rest of my head with my razor. Can you watch the human Garo versus everyone in JJK Sorcerer? Okay, we'll check that video out as well. And that'll be the last video I put some time into. Okay, by the way, I really want to read some Donkey Kong Bonanza, man. Oh, fucking damn it. Armor King is back in the game in Tekken. I'm gonna get thrashed, dude. I hate King so much, man. I fucking hate King. Hey, what's up, Scott? Eon, did you like I'd like to see you react to Naruto vs. Sasuke vs. Akainu was complicated by Sage. Okay, you know what, no, Scott, you're one of the most consistent members in the chat. I'll check that video out as well. Human Garo versus JJK, and we'll do by Yaxine, and we will do finally Naruto and Sasuke versus Akainu. I think I was recommended this earlier back in the summer. Bro gave you the Dofi? Or was it just one of the 1,000 barber pranks when you shit all the way back up your head? Nah, bro. Sage. I think we talked about not really watching Sage's content anymore because he was just kept throwing in like the R word. But Naruto, man, we'll check it out, man. We'll check it out. I'm someone who's at least willing to, like, I'm someone that's like at least willing to, like, you know, like look past certain things, but as long as he's not like going too hard on like any kind of like derogatory slurs and stuff like that during the video, I'm willing to like you know, watch it. Not SB the Sage. I'm willing to at least like give the video a try. It's a more recent video, so it's definitely a more recent video, so I'm willing to like look past some of the commentary. Yeah, what type of fighter is Rox again? Upscale, baby. It's just inevitable. He's a swordsman, but he doesn't have a black blade, Rohan, so I guess Mihawk solos. Hey, friend. Good to have you back. I don't know if you saw it, but Whitebeard did the same feat in most recent chapters when he was old. Yeah, no, I think I don't really have a scale for, like, the island that they went to, but all things considered, like, it feels like this was more of a casual feat for him. Damn, I voted for reading Kingon. No worries. We will go through. Oh, shit. I guess you guys want a recap for your thoughts on, Blech. This is from 8 minutes ago. I'll wait until it hits 10 minutes, and then I'll give it, like, a full 10 minutes. So, once that's over with, we'll go in it based on order of popularity. I ended up erasing Tekken from my library because I played less than SF6, and playing is just not fun, even people who played pro. The thing about Tekken that at least I find fun is that I play it completely casually, and I only play with friends. I don't mind getting thrashed, specifically against one of my friends. He plays King, and this motherfucker is, like, very good. I remember when he was living in Florida, like, he took down an entire local tournament, and I'm like, you're a fucking freak of nature. I do not want to play with you. I am a filthy casual. I play Clive Rossfield, my king from Final Fantasy, and I'm fine with getting absolutely destroyed, but come on, man. I don't want to get fucking grappled. I don't know how to break out of them things. Mayuri is one of my favorites, though. MVP of the year. Mayuri is one of... Okay, let me just say this right now before I drop into this fucking rant, because real talk, and I'm gonna say this as nicely as possible, the Soul Society needs to fucking burn, man. The shit that I saw in just the Soul Society episode alone. Hey, Lapis, thank you for the 20 gifted subs. God, everyone, can we get some W Lapises, please, in chat? Listen, I don't want to crash out too early, but like, there's a lot of things I have to say about the Soul Society, but the shit that these motherfuckers have done, especially when it comes to like allowing Mayuri Kurotsuchi, great character, but holy fuck, he's one of those people that I really think to myself, is he really, like, again, yes, he is technically worth more than the shit that he does, but the crimes that this man is willing to commit, including turning his own men into fucking walking C4 claymores, pisses me off to no end, because it's like, you people are supposed to be, air quotes, the good guys, and you allow this monster to walk around. Man, I don't know. Everybody who just received a membership, you are more than welcome. You should be able to find in your membership tabs when you go to, I think, my channel or your page, to see the things that you guys can receive from becoming members. You guys should receive a link to the Discord so you guys can join and just have as many conversations as you'd like with the chat. All right. Yeah, Soul Society is sketchy as fuck, man. It's terrible at their job, and how much the hollow problem to explode. Seriously, they are lazy as hell, and they seem to be losing their humanity. I mean, they're not meant to be humans, though. You know what I'm saying? Like, why is heaven literally just poor Edo Japan? That's honestly very much true. It is kind of crazy, and it is also kind of crazy that they have noble families in the afterlife. But I don't think they ever really explored why there are like noble families. I don't know, man. Didn't they recruit a serial killer too? Who the fuck is the serial killer? Is it fucking Kenpachi? Isn't it? No, Kenpachi's not a serial. I guess Kenpachi is technically a serial killer. They mutilated the Soul King. What do you expect? Yeah, no. Not all of them used to be humans. As far as where I'm at in the story right now, or at least from what I read from like the noble households, the Soul Society is definitely one of those places that like allows that originates with like some members of or at least the four great noble clans. It basically allows them, or they are originally born as spirits, man. I don't fucking know though. I'm befuddled by some of the decisions that like Kubo made. Anyway, we're done with the ads. All right. We put it up 12 minutes ago. That's enough of that. And we are going to do reactions, then recaps, then read through Kengan and Boruto. All right. Soul Society once the good old days. That's what I'm saying, man. The good old days in the Soul Society are honestly even crazier to me, because according to the shit that I remember from watching the 1,000-Year Blood War and from the stuff that I read, things were just fucking worse. The motherfuckers were Old Testament. The motherfuckers were like, if things need to go down, they will go down. We will take down the motherfuckers that need to go. Let me see. The noble families are actually descendants of the Shinigami who defeated and mutilated the Soul King. They're holding their position of power across the arrows. That's crazy to me. Anyway, bro, they didn't even punish two captains who attacked the head captain as traitors. They performed. Technically, the head captain was the one who fought. Technically, the head captain was the one who threw hands first. How do you feel about people think that characters like Akainu and Mihawk would beat Kaiju? Like Akainu and Mihawk would beat Kaiju and even Prime Whitebeard. Okaido and Prime Whitebeard. With Mihawk, it's a bit of a difficult discussion because Mihawk is the world's strongest swordsman. Granted, what that means, it's starting to become a bit more, like, all jokes aside, what that means starts to become a bit more, I don't know how to explain it. For me, the idea of, like, Mihawk as a character is one of those cases where, like, I need to actually see and understand what it is that makes him the world's strongest swordsman and not just the Black Blade. He is clearly the first character in years, in over 800 years to be able to develop a Black Blade on his own. But the thing about Mihawk in general is that, like, I'll put it like this. At a point in the story that we're currently at right now, where we have seen some of the most insane feats, in regards to Luffy, Kaido, within the context of, like, Marineford, Whitebeard, where the animation has definitely gone up to a point where, like, even Kizaru's exchange with Luffy, which was extremely impressive. All of these different concepts and things that we have seen And for me to sit here and think like, well, Mihawk slashing through a large wave, an extremely large wave casually, while still impressive even within the context of the things that we've seen so far, with Garp being able to nuke an entire, a large portion of an island, or being able to essentially push back a massive mountain rock formation that is about as large as the island itself with a single thrust from his shoulder. I need to know what the fuck Mihawk does at this point. And it's kind of falls in the same category as like Akainu, where it's like, I don't disagree with the idea that he is strong. I have no, well, to be fair, Mihawk, at least as far as like the lore goes, has never fought Kaido, and I don't think Kaido's ever seen him fight. So I don't know if it's necessarily fair to say that like he wasn't in Kaido's top 5, therefore GG's. You know what I mean? It's one of those cases, kind of like with Akainu, where it's like, I'm more and more like realistically at the point where I just genuinely have no reason to believe that they could beat one of these guys other than at least with Mihawk's name by title alone, right? Like the idea of like Akainu being a fleet admiral, sure, if you want to notice that as like a moniker of power, sure, but like it really was just a case of Sengoku retiring, him needing to find a successor, and just the two most optimal choices were, or at least for Sengoku, the best choice was Aokiji, and for the world government, the best choice was Akainu, and Akainu just so happened to win. I have no real reason to believe though that he could beat a Yonko in a fight, or even someone like Kaido or Prime Whitebeard, just because there's nothing for me to really go off of. Like, Whitebeard was at his weakest point, he got put down by Akainu, and Kaido, unless you have some way to prove to me that like lava or magma could like just take down Kaido when he was like swimming through lava, or at least like just being being unconscious in a pool of lava without it affecting him at all, I don't know, man. Like, as long as Akainu doesn't have any feats or anything that even remotely implies he has ACOC or Advanced Armament Haki Internal Destruction. We know that he has Emission. We don't know that he has Internal Destruction. So again, it's just a really weird thing, man. But I don't want to bring up that whole conversation. Look, I know I'm trolling with the Mihawk, but yes, I unironically think he beats Roger. I think the narrative around the Blackblade is greater than Conqueror's Haki. That's fair. Unohana was indeed a serial killer. That Kenpachi title is a cluster. Yeah, no, the Kenpachi title really pisses me off because it makes no fucking sense to me. It really just does not make any fucking sense. I'm going into Eon's voice and he doesn't know. Alrighty then. I just want Mihawk to actually pull up. Until then, Vista over Mihawk. Come on, man. You can't be like that, Thine. Come on, man. Red hair Unohana pushed Kenpachi to death multiple times in order for him to unlock the power he had been suppressing for centuries. In reality, Kenpachi was always stronger than Unohana. That's fair. There's your answer. WSC is just a great sword skill, like Mihawk is a pirate. Yeah, world's strongest swordsman is just a great sword skill. Yeah. All right, we're done with all that. Yeah, we're gonna react now. So for starters, this was the shortest video. It's by Overgoat. Just to be clear, and especially for the people that have like less subscribers than me, I'm pretty sure everybody else that we're gonna watch doesn't. Yeah, they all have more subscribers than me, but like for Overgoat specifically, like let's all be kind and everything. I know I don't have like a lot of subscribers myself, but I never want to like, I always want to make sure that like it's clear that like I never want to like come down on a channel too hard, whether or not they have more subscribers or less subscribers. I try to be as respectful to both ends as possible, but that won't stop me from at least trying to tackle some of the points that they make. So let's really just go over this one.
Chakra doesn't work on people without chakra. That doesn't make...
Okay, first of all, can you guys hear this video well? Is it too loud? Is it too low?
Any sense? Gaara versus Crocodile.
Yes, we are almost at 10 subscribers, by the way.
This topic is coming up again. I swear it's worse than the Naruto versus Luffy top, because this one has such a 1000% clear winner, and all the arguments for the other side are completely trash. You got a man made out of sand, and you got a man who controls all sand to a vastly higher degree and is able to take on opponents so far above Crocodile, it's not even funny. Yes, Gaara absolutely violates Crocodile. No, like, let's really think about this. How do you think it's an actual bonus, right, to turn into the element that your opponent controls? Like, that's like turning into a puddle of water in front of a waterbender. Are you serious? And honestly, this comment right here is probably the craziest response and the only new response I've ever seen in the arguments. And it doesn't even make sense. Who told this man that chakra doesn't work on people without chakra? That doesn't make any sense. That's never been stated. That's never been implied. Matter of fact, we know it works on things without chakra because things like normal cats, I don't know.
So, part of the thing about the image with Momoshiki that he brought up, I don't know Momoshiki's scaling all that well. I just know he's supposed to be like stronger than Kaguya. Granted, mostly what he did was taijutsu, which, all things considered, I have no way to tell you if the taijutsu that he uses, just straight hand-to-hand combat that he uses, is more powerful than Kaguya's 8 vacuum fist wave, right? Which was a massive barrage of fists in comparison to the single two-hand punch combo that he tried to hit Gaara's Sand with. Now, the thing about Gaara's Sand is that sand, as many of you that may know, is a form of cushion, right? Or at least it's meant to absorb a ton of the impact. Actually, Aang could control Akainu and Kuzan with his bending. He can't lava bend, yeah. In Momoshiki's case, I don't think it's so much that like Gaara is able to like tank star level punches, more so, or whatever the fuck you want to call them, because I don't think they can punch hard enough to like destroy a star, to be fair. I really just think he's absorbing the impact of the punch.
Trees, the ground, sand, all of it has been affected by things with chakra because that's not a thing in Naruto, and it never has been. So once again, we've got Gaara who's able to contend with fused Momoshiki for any amount of.
You realize how similar Naruto and Kaguya's fist clasp is to Luffy and Kaido's attack? It's a very similar clash to yeah, it is a very similar clash to Luffy and Kaido's Rock Gatling and Gundari Thunder Bagua. Okay.
Of time, and that fused Momoshiki, the barest minimum I'm willing to give him is star level when I consistently have.
Let me ask you guys a question. Do you guys think that Momoshiki can punch hard enough, that's like a punching attack potency of that star level? I don't know. Like, I think there's definitely a big difference between Momoshiki throwing hands, like just physical taijutsu, and Kaguya creating, well, it is technically considered a taijutsu itself, Kaguya's 8 fist vacuum wave, or 8 vacuum wave god fist, literally being giant chakra hands that are coming out at a rapid rate in the form of like an Ora style. I don't know. I think it's like 2 very different instances of utilization of taijutsu.
At solar system level, doing the scaling above Kaguya, who is going to destroy her dimensions. No, I do not use the create.
Time out. Okay. So this is very important to go over, because this is a topic of conversation that I've been having before. This is a topic of conversation that I actually was having, the expansive truth seeking orb, that I was having before with my subscribers all the way back like a couple of weeks ago, about like a week or 2 ago, talking about Kaguya's expansive truth seeking orb, right? Now, the thing about the expansive truth seeking orb is that Naruto, Sasuke, Kakashi, and, well, really just Naruto, Sasuke, and Kakashi, they couldn't stop this thing. They didn't actually stop the truth-seeking orb. They took down Kaguya. If you guys actually look back at the chapters, when fighting against Kaguya, the the expansive truth-seeking orb, I don't know if it stopped expanding or if it was still expanding, because she was basically like right in front of this damn thing. They never stopped it. What ended up happening was that they sealed her before it could continue to expand. A topic of conversation. Now, do I think Kaguya necessarily scales above the truth-seeking orb? Yes and no. It's a bit weird. As we know, the truth-seeking orbs are designed to be able to nullify all ninjutsu. Excuse me. Kaguya's dimensions are a byproduct of Ame no Minaka, which is a time-space ninjutsu. If you actually look up Ame no Minaka, it's never described to be a six paths technique. It's never described to be anything like a six path technique or a specific or a it's not it's a Kekkei Genkai, but specifically designed to be a ninjutsu. It's never specified to be a six paths ninjutsu or anything like that, right? What's weird about it is that like it seems to like all of the dimensions seem to be a byproduct of the dimension. Kind of like how Kamui, hey, what's up, Gnome Test? Kind of like how Kamui is a byproduct of the Kamui dimension is a byproduct of Kamui itself, right? I believe that like these dimensions, when the expansive truth-seeking orb was going to blow this place up, or at least like delete it, it's not so much that it has the attack potency to do so, more so it's just nullifying the time-space itself because it is a jutsu. Yeah, I understand the point. But then I asked my mods, and I asked my members about this, and I want to actually put up a poll just to ask you this question. Sasuke stated he could take down, he could solo a Kaguya level threat. Okay, Sasuke stated he could take down a Kaguya level threat. So, could Naruto or Sasuke take on the ETSO? Could they take on the ETSO? Do they have any way of actually taking down? If they were to fight Kaguya again solo, I have been reading Bleach. But we'll focus on that later. Could Naruto or Sasuke take on the ETSO on their own? What I'm saying is, if Naruto and Sasuke were to fight Kaguya again and they were to throw hands with her and she went and she said fuck it and performed an ETSO, could they stop it? If somebody believes that they could, I would love to know why. Because to take down Kaguya in my mind means that you have to be able to take down the ETSO. I'm not saying that Sasuke is wrong for saying that he can't take down a Kaguya level threat. That is not what I'm saying. I am fine with him having the power, the speed, in order to put down. You think Kuma can repel a TSO with his paws? I do think so. As long as the TSO isn't necessary, as long as the TSO itself isn't like in destruction mode, or whatever the fuck you want to call it, I do think he can 100% just, I think he can 100% just send that thing flying. Because he can send he can literally push out his own memories. He can repel and make a copy of his own memories. I have no reason to believe he can't do that to a physical entity. So my question here, because the reason why I bring this up is because if Naruto and Sasuke were to fight a Kaguya level threat, again, not Kaguya, a Kaguya level threat, an opponent that is just as powerful as Kaguya, but doesn't have a technique like the TSO, like the ETSO, for example, Momoshiki or Kinshiki. If you want to say that Momoshiki and Kinshiki are about as powerful as Kaguya, or if you want to say that fused Momo is as powerful or more powerful than Kaguya, that's all fine. I'm not really going to get to the semantics of that. What I'm really just trying to figure out here is, that's all fine, and I do believe that Sasuke would be right in saying that he can take down a Kaguya level threat. But my question is, if Kaguya were to come back and she were to perform another ETSO and they can't seal her, how the fuck do they deal with this? That's really just the point I'm trying to bring in. I think they can just punch it away. Maybe it's just glazing, but thought of Kaguya having an attack that Naruto couldn't deal with sounds goofy to me. I mean, but they didn't deal with it though. That's the thing. They could not deal with this attack. They didn't though. The reason why this attack stopped was because she was sealed. That's really what I'm just coming at. Who do you think you could fix? Esdeath, Makima, Kaguya, or Big Mom? I'm not gonna lie. Fuck. I mean, I'm him, so probably Esdeath, though she's a crazy bitch. Makima's just a straight up devil. I'm not gonna lie to you. Makima's just a straight up devil. Makima, scares me because she essentially, if she views me as anything less than her, she basically owns me. I'm not gonna lie, I definitely do look better than Kaguya's husband, but she would 100% just use me. She 100% would just use me to get, you know, but she would 100% use me just to like make offspring. And the thing about that is that like, while I'm not entirely against that, she also seems to me like she just has no body, and I feel like she's as flat as a fucking pancake. I feel like she just has a long back, so fuck no. And Big Mom, listen. 28-year-old Big Mom can get it, but the thing about 28-year-old Big Mom is that she's had 23-ish, 22-ish years of being a crazy-ass motherfucker, and she would probably toss me aside like a rag, but to be fair, as long as I don't have to pay child support, I don't think I could change her, but I would definitely crack. To be fair, though, she's also like 28 feet tall, so I don't know, man. I'm dying in there. Just eat Makima whole? Fuck, I'm not eating Makima, bro. I'm not a cannibal. To outgrow Kaguya? What do you mean by outgrow Kaguya? What do you mean by that? Okay. As-Death and Kaguya are easy to fix. I don't think Kaguya is easy to fix. As-Death is definitely easier to fix. You just gotta prove you're him. I'm not... The self-glaze is not crazy. I'm really him. I would really pull up in there and act like such a fucking badass. As-Death would be more on me than Tatsumi. How many baby daddies do she got? I don't know, but she's got 86 kids, so... Probably a lot. At least over 20. Because he usually has like 2 or 3 kids with each father. Sometimes 4. Can Haki resisting double fruits hawks translate to resisting hacks from other... No, I don't think so. Haki resisting double fruits is just a byproduct of what the ability is, but it's not like what Haki necessarily does. That's what I'm saying, Thine. You and I are beyond that shit. As long as I don't gotta pay the child support for all them kids, I'm fine with it. She can get as many times as she needs. Not gonna lie though, I'd probably be afraid of my kids because my genes plus hers, them motherfuckers would be a menace. If my kid fought Luffy instead of Katakuri, I'm not gonna lie to you, Luffy would not have walked out of that island. The Straw Hats would have left without Luffy. They would have 100% have left without Luffy. If my and Big Mom's son would have fought Luffy, nah. He would have did what he had to do, bro. That's all I'm saying. I think they could counter the ETSO with some SPS infused jutsu, but like which one though? That's really my question. Like which one could really take this thing down? Because like the thing is, it's constantly expanding. It's not like a regular truth-seeking orb that he can just kick away, right? It's not like what jutsu do they have that is even remotely this big? Because this fucking thing is probably already larger than the Indra's arrow and double Rasen Shuriken attack. I have not read it, yo. But anyway, that's enough of that. Let's continue with the point. Let's consider what the guy
Creation feat, I use the destruction feat because it's much more impressive. For those that don't, I do not use the creation feat, I use the destruction feat because it's much more impressive. For those that don't know, TSO's erasure abilities do not work on natural energy, which is what the planet is made out of. So that this means that the TSO is going to destroy it through DC means. And due to the time frame, it ends up being solar system level, as I can show the calc here. Now for speed, I'm going to get guard to MFTL plus, and I will lowball. Kashi in part 1 dodged an attack state to be moving at the speed of light, called the light.
Okay, so this translation right here, this translation is actually super inconsistent with Naruto part 1 scaling. Water, Fang, Bullet, Databook. Man, I should really... Where is it? Narutopedia, right here. This is the website that I usually use for all of my translations because it gives you a nice, neat, it gives you like a nice and neat detail of all of the jutsu and the characters throughout the data books, right? I also think the translations are the most consistent, in my opinion. And in this case, let me see, where is it? Anybody know how to find the, anybody know like, what is it, like F11? Oh, fuck, no. Okay, my bad. What is it? What is it, like F7? Anybody know what the button is, what like the keybind is to like, search something in a website? I thought it was like F11. Water Shark Bullets, Water Fang Bullet. Okay, so right here, Water Fang Bullet. Lightning fast bullets gathered from water. They come out of a blind spot and gore the enemy. A technique that deals heavy physical damage to liquid mass from underwater. Its power to kill and maim is augmented by adding a spinning motion to the compactly pressured water. During fights of water, taking advantage of its characteristics, ability to attack from anywhere 360-degree radius in conjunction with other jutsu. For distractions, confusion, and so forth, this technique has an excessive array of applications. Excuse me. Oh, Control F. Thank you so much. Control F. Oh, thank you guys so much. Thank you. I'm gonna have to, like, write down a little thing right there, just to, like, keep it on the side. So, there's two ways that you can look at this. There's honestly two ways that you can, look at the lightspeed statements when it comes to, Naruto. Now, if you believe in early Part 1 lightspeed meta, this statement seems consistent. Because if Naruto's able to react to a guy like Haku that's able to move at the speed of light, or whatever, then you believe that, like, okay, then all the lightspeed statements from, like, Part 1 have to be consistent. However, the biggest inconsistency with the whole Haku thing is that he never attacks Naruto, or at least he never charges at him while moving between the mirrors, which kind of puts that whole thing sort of to bed. The thing about this is more so that, lightspeed projectile born of water striking a blind spot from the enemy, depending on which of these two translations you use, you can either massively upscale, or you can not massively upscale the Naruto series, or you can get a more consistent, or at least in my opinion, you can get a more consistent tier of speed for Naruto, and I've talked about this many times before, but the point I'm trying to make at is that, like, whether either one of these translations, I'm sure that, like, somebody's gonna say this is a mistranslation, I'm sure somebody's gonna say that this is a fucking translation. I usually just go by this fucking website because they seem to have translated the entirety of the data books, and all of the translations seem to usually be consistent with the ones that I've seen before. This one seems to have been a translation that they've gotten off of Discord, so I don't know if I would necessarily agree with it. But the thing about this is that, like, a lot of people like to say that, like, well, Kakashi as a child, or like, when he was like 15, 16 years old, was able to clash with a lightning bolt, therefore he's massively hypersonic, therefore he could be lightspeed by the time he's an adult, but there's no kind of bridge in logic to really get him to that point, right? There's kind of, like, no real bridge in knowledge, if you know what I mean. A bridge in information, right? Something I like to do when I'm power scaling, and I would recommend this for everybody that is either trying to get into power scaling or would like to maybe try a little bit more, is that try to find a bridge of logic, not a bridge of logic and information for one thing to another, right? For example, Kakashi hits a lightning bolt at 14, 15, and so you can put him at, like, let's say massively hypersonic, but then as an adult, you don't really get a good tier for what his speed is supposed to be like, correct? So you don't really get, like, an idea of, like, how fast he's really supposed to be as an adult. He can still perform the same technique, so you think that he has to be at the very least as fast, if not faster. Kakashi in Part 1 actually says that, if I remember right, he actually makes comments about him, not so much letting himself go, but he isn't as strong as he needs to be, or he isn't as, it's not, I think it was something along the lines of, like, he's not so much hasn't let himself go, but he's kind of, like, taken things a little bit easy as of lately. So for me to believe that, like, Kakashi has been taking things lightly, but then somehow has light speed reaction time at this point of the story seems a bit off, because nothing really there is made, at least in my opinion, made me to believe that that someone like Kakashi, you know, could have reached the speed of light with no prior information. At least, especially, again, within the context of the story, without using the data books. And then for me to see a data book entry like this, and then to see another one like this, and to think, well, Kakashi should have, at the very least, lightning fast reaction time, since he could hit a lightning bolt. But then this one here says he's light speed, but there's nothing in the story to, like, especially up until this point, that really makes me believe this. So you see where I'm coming with this? There's a bridge there's at least a bridge that I can draw upon this, right? The bridge is, he has a statement prior to this jutsu's reveal. He has a statement prior to this jutsu's reveal where Might Guy says he was able to split a bolt of lightning, which would mean Kakashi has to be lightning fast, and then this translation here says lightning fast bullets gathered from the water, which would then make me believe that this jutsu would have to be lightning fast. This statement right here with the whole lightspeed projectile born from water, even if you don't use the early Naruto lightspeed stuff, you really kind of have nothing else to bridge that line of logic other than, well, Kakashi got faster when he was an adult, which I guess would be fine, but it's not enough for me to believe it, because the question will always be, what else within the context of the story, out regardless of any supplementary material, makes me believe that he's actually Lightspeed? That's kind of where I'm trying to, that's kind of like where my logic tries to go, okay?
Light Fang Bullet. Might Guy and Kakashi and Base are shown to be relative to each other in the war, of course. Then it's just a simple matter of stacking on the 8 gate. And Kakashi and Base are shown to be one dodge and attack state to be moving at the speed of light, called the Light Fang Bullet. Might Guy and Kakashi and Base are shown to be relative to each other in the war.
In base should be relative to one another. There's a very interesting scan. Kakashi and Guy War Arc. I don't remember. Man, I really wish I didn't lose my. Oh man, I really, really wish I did not lose my I really wish I hadn't lost my database, because I did have the chapters for this. It's kind of weird to say whether or not, like, Might Guy or Kakashi, like, where exactly Kakashi scales to Might Guy, at least in terms of, like, raw stats, not, Gatesless Guy, specifically, because there's an argument to be made that, like, Kakashi unlocking his Sharingan puts him, like, on an equal playing field with, like, let's say 6th Gate Guide, which this version of Guy should be, especially since at this point Guy has acclimated to the point where he can use the 6th and maybe even up to the 7th Gate without his body completely breaking down, right? Eon, would you rather fix Multi from Shield Hero, Sakura from Naruto, or Eve's dad from Invincible? I feel like I can get through Eve's dad before these two bitches, because there's nothing saving Sakura from being a dumb idiot that marries the guy that abused her for fucking years and left her with a child for the next 12 years of her life. Yeah. She knew what Sasuke had to do in his repentance and all that bullshit. That man pumped and dumped, alright? Especially after nearly killing her twice. And then Multi, she can go die in a ditch. If that's the red-haired lady from Rise of the Shield Hero from like the first episode, she can go die in a ditch. I do not care. There's nothing to save her. I hope she stubs her toe in every single edge of the bed that she ever comes across. I hope she gets a splinter on said toe, because the beds are so poorly crafted. I hope she slips and breaks her hip. That's how much I hate her. I saw someone on Reddit claiming 8Gate's Guy can easily beat Kaido. Massive doubt. I don't think a guy could do it fast enough. The thing is, like, can you really quantify Guy's... The thing is, like, can you really quantify Guy's Knight Guy to have the capacity to be above, like, Continental and attack potency? With no data books, Naruto, Light Speed, and Boruto only. I agree with this. I kind of agree with this. So the thing about, like, Kakashi and Guy is that, like, it really sort of depends on where you think Kakashi scales to what version of Guy, which is kind of weird, because it's like, Kakashi can still keep up with Guy, especially when he's performing like Hirudora. He can 100% keep up with Guy, especially while having his Mangekyo Sharingan active, right? Which then brings up like this very interesting question: if it's like, does the Sharingan offer like an amp, or does it offer like an improvement in performance that's about as great as the 6th Gate? That would be honestly insane, because it doesn't necessarily sound right. But then you would have to ask yourself, does that mean that Guy's base is just that much weaker than Kakashi's base? You know what I mean? It's so weird.
Course. Then it's just a simple matter of stacking on the 8 gate multipliers. The first one being stated to be 5 times amp. The second to the 7th stated to be dozens of times, therefore bare minimum being 24x per gate. But I'm going to
Okay. They constantly maintain limits on the amount of chakra flow through the body, limits that Lotus uses body's limits that the Lotus uses chakra to forcibly override, enabling the user to draw upon strength as dozens of times his usual level. This doesn't necessarily mean that every single gate offers a dozens of times an amp. That doesn't necessarily mean that. This is a 5 times amp, right? So dozens by, like, let's say, like, the Gate of Shock is honestly kind of consistent, right? Like, I could say, like, okay, by the time of the Gate of Shock, you could say that, like, dozens of times could possibly be, like, anywhere up to, like, what, 84 times, and then, like, the Gate of Death could probably be, like, over 100 times, since I think it stated that you could become 100 times stronger through the 8th Gate of Death, right?
Snowball it.
Psychologically abuses his daughter her entire life. You can't put him on the same level as Sakura. No, here you go. He's a bigot. He is a piece of shit, right? He is a bigot and a piece of shit. I'm more willing to believe this man can change than that dumb bitch Sakura. I'm sorry. I just do not care for her as a character. I think that a lot of the decisions she's made, I think that she is one of the most delusional characters in all of Naruto. I really do believe she's one of the most delusional characters in all of Naruto, and I really do think she has consistently made some of the worst decisions possible. Her doing one good thing in a fight, her doing a couple of good things in her fight against what's his face, Sasori, and then saving people in the war does not really mean much to me when her character as a whole is absolute garbage. Oh, I really do not like her.
Even further, I'm just going to say that 2 through 7 is somehow just only a 24 times amp, even though it's shown to be higher. So mind you, that's 5 times 24 now. Of course, with Mabui's teleportation used by A and Tsunade to attack Madara, who is shown to react to it and block it, giving him FTL bare minimum reaction speeds as shown.
Why would that would give him relativistic as best, since he saw the flash of light and then they punched and kicked.
Here, as a vastly stronger Madara is shown to give us a relative to 7th gate guy. So it is consistent.
Holly is light speed. I think you mean Haku. Yeah, Haku is light speed. Itachi's water bullets are light speed. They really aren't though. The rest of the scaling does not even remotely prove this.
That these characters
or
are able to
even
produce and
supports
react
us.
to these speeds. And then we got the Creme la Creme, the final 8 gate, stated to be 100 times increase.
Allows the user to release draw on his power replaced. The release of the 8-gate limiters puts results in power tens of times greater than that of the Gokage. Where's it stated to be 100 times? I think it was stated to be 100 times actually in the let me see if I recall this. Let me actually look this up real quick. If I remember correctly, that should be after chapter 1. It should be like what, 80 something? Damn, I really wish I didn't lose my fucking data bank. It was like what, like 83? Dude, I am fucking goated, man. I remember the fucking chapter. I'm so good at this. All right, anyway. Increasing his skin, chakra, blah, 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 blah. Okay. Let me see something. No, it's actually the previous chapter. For amplitude of genius, blah, 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 blah. Okay. No, it's actually way farther than this. Sorry, 24. You're saying it's you're saying it's 12 raised to the 24 raised to the 7th times 5 power. No, that's a crazy ass. That's a crazy ass amp. Okay. Constantly blah 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 blah. The Kaimon boosts. Okay, boosts his strength. Okay, all right techniques. Anyone briefly surpasses anyone who achieves that state. However, will briefly surpass granted strength that surpasses even the Kage. However, briefly be granted. Where is it? Isn't it stated to be like 100 times of an amp by like the time use of the 8th gate? It wasn't stated in that chapter because he says it was like tens of times stronger than the Hokage. Than the Gokage.
Then we've got Sasuke and Naruto absolutely dog walking a stronger Madara.
Yeah, I still need to see the chapter. I still need to see like the thing where like he blitzed his own shadow. Because I saw the whole like scan with like Renji blitzes his own shadow, but then I got a video from one of my from Six, one of the mods, and it showed us that like no, that moment, especially like in the anime, he doesn't blitz his own shadow. As a matter of fact, like the shadow is gone at the same time that he's gone. By that logic, Kuro in One Piece is chapter light speed because he's he's outspeeding his shadow in one instance.
Momoshiki is over these versions of Naruto and Sasuke. Gaara blocks an attack to use Momoshiki. Fused Momoshiki is not able to surpass the durability of this attack either.
It's not so much that the sand is so durable that he can't surpass it. It's more... well, you could argue that definitely, but I also feel like it's because the sand is also absorbing all of the impact.
He has to sneak around it. So this grants him MFTL.
No, they can't stop the Bajirangan. That I genuinely do not believe.
5 times 100 immediately gives them bare minimum.
It's a different translation on the same panel.
1,000 times the speed of light. Now, this is an extreme lowball, because what I want you to remember is I counted 2 through 7 gate as 1 gate. I didn't bring up the fact that Sage Mode is a 5 times amp, or that fact that a base Naruto one-shot Sage Mode is a 5 times.
Is immediately unleashed his curse mark. This does not even remotely imply anything at all that Sage Mode is a 5 times amp. And in fact, you can actually argue it's a 10 times.
Naruto one-shot and contended with a guy who was already over Kaguya, meaning that base Naruto.
You know, I'm gonna be honest with you guys, and this is no hate to this guy. I do not like the use.
Who was already over.
I do not like the use of promotional material. Uses of promotional material are usually there to hype up the characters more than anything else. It's kind of like where it's stated in one of the promotional materials that Jiren is the strongest character that or the strongest combatant that they've ever fought, right? I don't know, man. I genuinely do not care for the use of promotional material in any sort of work. Even if like One Piece, even like if like there was one for like the One Piece movies where it stated that like Tot Musica is more powerful than like the Pirate King, I probably would not go at. I would not go out of my way to use a promotional material for a movie as an actual canon source for me to believe that like, okay, yeah, this is
meaning that
this is 100% factual.
Plus speeds, and you can technically tack on another 5 times multiplier to the 12,000. And this is still an extreme lowball. Mind you, the guy you got him up against, Crocodile, has no feats post time skip and has no SOL feats at all.
He does. He actually, or at least he comparatively should. He comparatively should have a... It depends. Honestly, I'm not gonna tell you whether or not this like is objectively a light speed feat. I'm not gonna sit here and like tell all you people like whether or not like this is 100% a light speed feat or not. Like you can choose to see it however you want. You can definitely make the argument though that this is one though. You can definitely make the argument. So Crocodile goes immediately for Whitebeard, and Luffy is able to stop him with second gear. The reason why something like this is important is because Luffy, by this point in the story, a couple of chapters afterwards, funny enough, he's able to use, it's around here. Because at this point afterwards, Luffy in base dodges a beam of light. He was here, he was like here, because the beam is shooting right between him and Ivankov. He jumps all the way here in base. That is FTL. That is FTL. Yes, this is an FTL feat. The beam of light is shot. Luffy does not move until after the beam is shot. It is a beam of light that is the speed of light that is traveling already towards Luffy, and he dodges it in base. He needed a 10 times amp. He needed a 10 times multiplier. I've just discovered there's a guy who argues Chunin exam Lee beats Pain. I don't want to see that. That's going to upset me. I don't want to see that. Luffy needed second gear in order to keep up with Crocodile, or at least in order to get himself wet and then tag Crocodile. Second gear is stated in the One Piece Yellow Data Book to be a 10 times amp, so Luffy needed to become 10 times faster than Light in order to tag Crocodile and stop him from hitting Whitebeard.
I don't want to hear a single person bring up Mihawk, because it does not make narrative sense for a base Luffy who beat up fucking Croc somehow also being weaker than his Gear 4th self. Let that sink in. In order for Mihawk to actually have been trying with that attack, you would have to say Gear 4 Luffy post time skip is weaker than pre-time skip base attack. Post time skip and has no SOL feats at all.
Okay.
I don't want to hear a single person bring up Mihawk, because it does not make narrative sense for a base Luffy who beat up fucking Croc somehow also being weaker than his Gear 4th self. Let that sink in. In order for
that doesn't wait. Are you guys hearing the same thing that I'm hearing? This doesn't make any sense. Let's go back. Mihawk. Okay.
Make narrative sense for a base Luffy who beat up fucking Croc.
For a base Luffy who beat up Crocodile. Okay.
Somehow also being weak.
Also being weaker
than his Gear 4th.
Than his Gear 4 self. Why would that not make any narrative sense for Luffy to be weaker than while beating Croc than when he beat his Gear 4 self? That doesn't make any sense.
So let that sink in. In order for me,
did he mean stronger? I think he meant it makes no sense for Luffy who beat up Croc to be stronger than his Gear 4 self from post time skip. I think that's what he meant. To actually have been trying with that attack, you would have. For Mihawk to actually have been trying for that attack, okay.
Have to say Gear 4 Luffy post time skip is weaker than pre time skip base Luffy, and I hope you don't have reasoning skills of a toddler to try to claim that he does. So there's no way you're getting Crocodile to 12,000 times the speed of light, which is where I got Gaara. And to mention on win cons, he has 3 big win cons, of course, which is all reliant on speed and AP, because the force you impart in your abilities is also linked to your control, as shown by Gaara's usage of sand. So as I've already said, I've got him to solar system level with MFTL plus speeds. He is ripping the control directly from Crocodile and using Crocodile like an infinite ammo glitch, slapping him into the gourd and ejecting him with chakra. Now he's got an endless resupply of ammunition. Or
I don't really have much to say after that. I'm trying to understand like what he, so I guess what he's trying to say is that Crocodile, I guess he wasn't like very specific with it, but like I guess he's assuming that Crocodile clashes with Mihawk. Therefore, Luffy, who beat Crocodile, would have to be, for Crocodile to be as strong as Mihawk. For those that might say that Crocodile is, I wouldn't ever argue that, but whatever. That would technically mean that Luffy with pre-gears would have to be stronger than Gear 4 Luffy. I'll just leave it at that. I don't really have much to say. The scaling kind of felt like it was all over the place, and he kind of really didn't post the multipliers or like a lot of the evidence. Whatever. Let's go to this one. This one's actually the one I wanted to look at more.
Naruto versus Gojo is a decently interesting matchup, mostly because compared to the powerhouses you normally see Gojo get put up against, Naruto doesn't get the respect of someone like Goku in a fight against Gojo, where people think he wins just because of how powerful he is. I bring up Goku because I'm going to approach this video in a very similar way to how I approached my Goku versus Gojo video, where considering Naruto is generally seen as stronger than Gojo.
The video that you suggested is right here. Don't worry about it. We are going to go over it. We are going to go over the videos. Do not worry about it. We're going to go over all 3 things and then we're done.
But just unable
this one will take a little
quick
shorter.
to his infinity. I'm going to answer the question of whether or not Naruto can get past infinity, and if that can be done, how he would actually put Gojo down. I'll be throwing 6 past Sage Mode Naruto from the War Arc here, just so he has access to his entire kit, like Truth Seeker Orbs, and Gojo doesn't really change in power over the course of JJK, but
I do not agree with this. So that's one of the things that like I don't know if I would necessarily agree with 6 on this, because to me it does feel like Gojo did go through like at least some form of training in the month prior to fighting Sukuna. One of the things that like, if I recall correctly, one of the things that like Gojo was doing was mostly like a mental training in order so he could fight Megumi, as he says right here. I can totally wail on Megumi, but it's not so much the fight that like, it's not so much like the fact that like he's going through like some mental training, but the fact that like, how do I put it? Gojo's stamina seems to be not only more impressive, but more consistent than when he fought the other curses back on level 6 or level 5 of Jujutsu Kaisen, where he ended up taking down all of the 1,000. Let me see if I can find the chapter where he ended up taking down the 1,000 transfigured humans. You gotta be actually a little bit further back. What was it, like 91 then? Yeah. If you guys recall, do you think bypassing Gaara's shield means the attack upscales the Deidara's bomb, the one that was gonna blow up the hidden sand? That bypassing Gaara's shield, I think it depends on the kind of attack, right? So Aster, you know what the thing is, like I think it depends on like the type of attack, right? Because I don't know if you can really like compare. I do not know if you can really compare, like, let's say like a hit from Madara's Susanoo blade to like the explosion of Deidara's bomb, because it's an explosive attack versus a blunt force attack, right? It's kind of like how if you look at a video game, how like they separate, like for example, like the Souls-like games, where like they separate striking, piercing, and striking, slashing, and piercing attacks, right? Where it's like you have blunt force, you have you have blunt force, you have slashing attacks, you have piercing attacks, you have elemental attacks. You know what I mean? I don't know. Like, I think that the Sand's ability, like Gaara's sand armors or his sand shield's ability to block something, can depend or can differentiate based on what exactly he is going to bypass. Whose life do you think is worse, Guts or Subaru? I have no context for Subaru, and all I know about Guts is that Griffith and some other people did some real fucked up things to him. I have no context, man. Hey, Kuma can repel TSOs with his paws. Can he repel Hollow Purple? Probably can. Like, again, guys, Kuma can repel conceptual things like pain and damage. Pain, damage, memories. He can, like, deflect those things. If it's, whether it's an imaginary mass, virtual mass, whatever you want to call it, or a truth-seeking orb, I do think he can repel pretty much anything if he can repel these concepts. Loki trying to see the last Sasuke versus Thousand Year Blood War Byakuya. Deflecting concept is crazy. I believe so. So, when Gojo performed the 0.2 second domain expansion, he ended up killing in about 5 minutes an arena full of transfigured humans. Oh, it was floor B5. Okay. He ended up killing a floor of transfigured humans. I think it was about it was rough to estimate the amount of information flooded into their brain. Simply killed. What time was just a guess. Rehabilitated within 2 months, simply speaking. Oh, he had the approximately 1,000 transfigured humans had been released within B5, had been annihilated in under 5 minutes. So he killed 1,000 people in 5 minutes by running through them and ripping their heads off while selectively choosing each and every one of them in between a bunch of people. It depends on how you want to consider this feat, but the fact that he was fighting against Sukuna, dropping multiple domain expansions, which should have caused him a greater amount. Yeah, but the difference is not 100 or 1,000 unless the calc pressure distribution shouldn't be a massive difference. Every time Oda gives a statement for Kizaru, it's always been light speed. Only in Egghead, he accelerates past the speed of light. Not necessarily, and here's why. Because if you're going to use some scaling to try and upscale Naruto to like FTL or something, you have to do the same thing for Luffy. If you're going to make some argument about how Naruto has Naruto or what's his face are like 1,000, 50,000, 12,000 times the speed of light, you have to do the same thing for One Piece. I do not care what side of the argument you're on, you have to do the same for One Piece. And when Luffy gets to the scaffolding, once again, once again, just to make it clear, when the fuck does he actually, I think it's bad, further back. When Naruto gets to the scaffolding and he tries to blitz his way past all of the admirals. Yeah, when he tries to blitz his way past all the admirals, Luffy uses second gear. Luffy uses gear 2, second gear. Remember, base Luffy can accelerate his body, can dodge a beam of light, and evade its blast radius after it's already been shot. He blitzes his way past the admirals, and Kizaru was calling him too slow. He does not need to say that he is accelerating himself. He does not need to say that he is speed is acceleration, or acceleration is weight, or speed is power, any of that crap. He does not need to create a blast of higher threshold for moving speeds. Doesn't Kuma require physical contact to repel something? It's kind of weird. Because I don't think he actually makes full contact. He does make contact. You can definitely argue that he does have to make contact. I think in one of the cases, if I recall right, he didn't make full contact with one of the people that he removed, where he removed like their damage. This version of Kizaru that is calling Luffy slow and blitzing him casually has to be over 10 times the speed of light. The only time Kizaru blatantly mentions light speed leading up to his kick against Hawkins. Otherwise, the one thing about Subaru is that every time he dies, time reverts to a certain point with him keeping the memories and experience of it. He died over 100 million times. Yeah, but it really just depends on like whether dying 100 million times is worse than being sexually assaulted by people. Especially depending on like what the context of you dying is. Like, I don't like, this isn't a conversation I'm trying to have right now because it'll just like elongate the amount of time of the things I'm trying to do. But the point I'm really trying to come down to is that like, let me get through all this stuff first and then I can answer these questions afterwards, guys. All right.
Changing power
also,
over the course of JJK.
One thing
does learn new.
One of the things that I do want to mention just before, so that aside, I do think that Gojo is at least, even if you want to say that he's not stronger, I do think that he's at least has better physical stamina than he did before he got sealed. One more thing I'd like to say is that 6 does verse equalize. 6 does verse equalize. So you have to consider cursed energy is chakra and chakra is cursed energy. All right.
Abilities like accessing his tiny domain barrier, an unlimited hollow purple, or learning the limits to repairing a burnt out curse technique. So just assume Gojo is at the complete height of his power, and in this alternate universe he had beaten Sukuna and still knows how to do all of this stuff.
Yeah.
I'd like to also quickly thank Brad, who paid to have this video done. I'll open up commissions soon, but for anyone interested in one of those, this should be a good showing of what one of those would look like if you're interested. Before we get started, I'd like to ask if you leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel, as it helps the channel out a lot. I've covered Infinity in decent enough detail before, but prior to getting into the in-depth explanation, let's just give a brief description. Infinity is the neutral application of Gojo's limitless curse technique that creates a barrier around him which slows things down approaching Gojo by continually dividing their speed. The ability seems far more complicated than it is in reality, especially when it comes to specific conversations. For example, considering Naruto doesn't have any space-time abilities, there's no need for that part of the conversation. Infinity is described the best by one paradox, Achilles and the tortoise, and that's whether you have Gojo say it or the author themselves, Gege Akutami. This is a paradox that denies motion by exploiting math and infinitely dividing finite distances, but let me go a little bit more in detail. Achilles and the tortoise are going to have a race, but the tortoise is going to get a head start. Let's just say 1 whole foot. After the tortoise reaches 1 foot past the starting line, Achilles starts running. Well, Achilles first has to run the distance of a foot to get to where the tortoise was, and in that time the tortoise will have crossed another amount of distance, so Achilles would also have to cover that, but by the time he covers that, the tortoise will have also covered another amount of distance that he has to make up for, and this would go on and on until eventually it would seem as if Achilles and the tortoise weren't moving. The same way Achilles could never catch up to the tortoise is the same way when you attack Gojo's Infinity, you would never catch up to Gojo. This is a paradox. The exploit here is that to get from point A to point B, there's an infinite amount of smaller steps you must take, since you could hypothetically divide the distance between those 2 points forever. Considering the literal evidence that you can indeed get from point A to point B, the paradox kind of concludes that either everyone has infinite speed on some level, or that there is an issue within the system of math we use altogether. But I'm not trying to turn into a mathematician here. In terms of mechanics, it doesn't really matter if you believe Gojo's barrier creates an infinite space around him, or if you think it's a simulated infinity, at least not for this conversation. But for this video and explanation, to simplify things just a bit, think of his barrier as, instead of an infinite space, a finite space that can divide infinitely. Paradox itself, which Gojo's ability is based on, supports this, with the infinity only existing between 2 whole numbers, and Gojo's infinity as depicted as a finite layer around him, although admittedly, it's kind of impossible to demonstrate a literal infinite space, and you most certainly cannot.
First of all, I am beyond outer versal, and I have no concept of speed. Actually, the concept of speed can't even apply to me. First of all, 6. But it's always been like that. It's been like that since the day I was born, bro. As a matter of fact, I'm a case like Frieza, where I've never trained a day in my life, and I am already him.
Draw one. But what does Naruto have that can actually counter this and allow him to harm Gojo? Well, for one, the true secret orbs.
I could be omnipresent, but the thing about me being omnipresent is that, like, if I were omnipresent, like, you know, I'd be talking to so many people at so many times, so I'm just like, you know what, let me just focus on one point in time. I'm like, let me just try to live my best life for, like, a little bit, instead of just trying to be everywhere, everything and everywhere all at once.
True secret orbs are a combination of every nature transformation, but the most important one in this conversation is
your feats don't support that interpretation. My feats 100% support that interpretation. As a matter of fact, the author stated it. You just haven't gotten out of the simulation yet to be able to talk to him. I have. We catch you struggling to turn on your car below car level at best. That is absolutely fucking... When have you ever caught me struggling to turn on my car?
Yin Yang release. Yin Yang release gives the true secret orbs the ability to negate traditional attacks not imbued with Senjutsu. With these orbs, Naruto should be able to just throw them at Gojo and they pass right through Infinity and kill him. Naruto should...
Okay, so the first point that, like, 6 brings up, and I'm going to slow it down now. I'm going to put it, like, 1.5. The thing about, like, so the first thing that he brings up is that, because, like, okay, he doesn't mention that this is verse equalized, but he's going up, but, like, essentially the point is, the point of the video is that it is, right? Last week, I wasn't even in the country last week. See, that's how I know you're an unreliable sort. See you, man. So, because this is not, isn't verse equalized, I guess you have to consider, cursed energy like, chakra, which in this case specifically, I would have to then agree that, like, yes, truth-seeking orbs treating a thing like infinity, which in this case would be, let's just call it like a Kekkei Genkai. Treating infinity almost like a Kekkei Genkai and essentially a jutsu, it would essentially rip through, infinity right away, right? It's truth-seeking orbs are one of those concepts that, at least in as far as like verse equalization goes, that are very, very powerful, and in certain ways kind of break certain power systems or certain abilities because of the way that they function, because of the fact that they like essentially nullify all ninjutsu. It creates this weird situation where like almost kind of like Asta's anti-magic, where it nullifies anything it comes in contact with. Now if we were to talk about like Asta's anti-magic and truth-seeking orbs, don't even fucking ask me like what would beat what in that scenario, because I feel like it feels like at that point we're just arguing headcanon, man. But it is all kind of headcanon at that point.
Also be able to get Gojo with Frog Song Genjutsu. We have an unconditional win con for him.
The Frog Song Genjutsu point is one that I definitely wanted to talk about when I first watched this video. I do loathe to admit this, but Naruto likely beats Asta. I don't think Naruto can beat Asta. I'm gonna be honest with you. I really don't. From the stuff I've seen and been told from Black Clover, I don't think he can. So the thing about like the Frog Song is that like Naruto himself does not use Genjutsu. Naruto does not have the aptitude for Genjutsu. The thing about Naruto and just the Frog Song and all these other techniques in general is that, and then you have to consider, is that it's not a jutsu per se that Naruto has to use or that can use. More so, it's a jutsu that Ma and Pa can use, which, if he ever does summon them, would potentially be a problem. The reason why is TSO wouldn't react to getting targeted like the inverted spear and has to still travel a space. Limitless makes an infinity for things to interact with. I kind of get that, but I also kind of see it like the inverted spear with the inverted spear of heaven, where it turns off the technique. I feel like it's one of those cases where like it does turn off the technique, because in this case, like the truth-seeking orbs would be they're like this weird level of, it's kind of like moving malleable inverted spear of heavens, where like they're constantly canceling out or nullifying whatever it is that they're touching, right? So I don't know, like the reasoning for why they wouldn't necessarily convince me as much as the reason why they should, if you were to go by it, right? When it comes to like the Frog Song specifically, it's one of those more of those scenarios where it's like, would Naruto realistically summon Ma and Pa in a situation like this, or in a situation where like he can't tag his opponent? I do not think so. It feels extremely out of character, at least in my opinion, because like, well, you could argue that Naruto and Sasuke did pull up with all the toads during the Pain Invasion. That was more because he kind of needed the fucking backup, right? Like they were aware of what they were fighting. They were aware of who the opponent was, and they really, really, really needed to put down fucking Pain.
But one I want to go over nonetheless.
And they are affected by space. The best win con is Frog Kata. I do agree with Frog Kata, though.
Isn't even debatable. The answer is yes, it just would. Aside from the fact we know Gojo can hear the people who talk to him even while Infinity's on, we've seen that the technique is susceptible to sound. It's susceptible to sound. When Gojo fought against Jogo, the Fly Heads Jogo summoned used sound attacks on Gojo, and from the fact Gojo literally started shuddering, you can tell the attacks worked on him. So when it comes to the sound bypassing Infinity, we know at the bare minimum that this is true. The issue I could guess what arises from here is whether or not the chakra imbued into the sound could also make its way past Infinity. However, I don't think the jutsu works like this, especially because of the description of the jutsu. It seems far more like this is similar to the voice in Dune, where hearing it puts you under the genjutsu, rather than it being similar to Tsukuyomi or some other Sharingan genjutsu. In other words, hearing the specific notes that Ma and Pa sing cause your mind to react this way, rather than them having to inject chakra into your head. The description of this jutsu reads, 2 or more toads sing in harmony to a musical scale passed down secretly on Mount Miyaboku. Those who hear it are drawn into a genjutsu world where their minds are paralyzed. Because it takes long years of training to acquire, presently only the 2 great sage toads can perform this jutsu. It goes on to say, captioning Pain getting caught in the jutsu, that Genma Rensho will succeed if the target is even within earshot, and then at the bottom of the page saying, at Mount Miyaboku there is sheet music for genjutsu recognized since ancient times, combining lyrics and melody that only toads can produce, invokes the most powerful genjutsu. As you can see, the jutsu works with a combination of lyrics and melody, only able to be produced by toads.
So I don't think the TSO would shred it, at least. It's kind of weird because it's one of those situations where I feel like it's... So, I get where you guys are coming from. I feel like it's one of those situations where, like, Infinity is a technique that is active. Therefore, and it's constantly targeting the TSO, which would be considered, at least, if the TSO touches the ability, Eon, the thing that they aren't touching the Limitless itself. The TSO aren't touching the space, not the technique. But the technique is directly targeting the TSO, so wouldn't it immediately, like, not be... This is the part that, like, really is just catching me, because it's like... Oh man, I fucking hate verse equalization because it's just fucking semantics at this point. Okay, so Infinity is let me see. Infinity, limitless, Infinity, JJK. Curse technique with hereditary, the strongest character, limitless, yes. Extremely difficult to use, and requires sophisticated. Okay, even though the sorcerer's technique so good. Okay, yeah, whatever. I need. Yeah. Let me just. Okay, Infinity. The base state. It's the base state of limitless. Essentially, the power to stop. The limitless operates in the same way of convergent divergent. Okay, do the mathematics. Convergent. Infinity. This is basic technique. Takes an infinite amount of space between the two subjects and divides them in an infinite amount of times. So it takes an infinite amount of space between the two subjects and divides it an infinite amount of times. In mathematics, no matter how many times you divide a number, it will never reduce to zero. Instead, they will reduce fraction and brings this concept to reality. It's like I understand the idea that it's like bringing the concept of an infinite sort of space between his opponent and Gojo into reality. But the thing is that like the TSO nullify all ninjutsu, in this case, all curse techniques that it would come in contact with, and then it becomes a case of like, would it even be able to target it, right? Because it's nullifying. Like, would it even be able to, like, would it even be able to then target the TSO? Because it's one of those situations where I feel like, okay, the TSO would have to be like this weird amalgamation of cursed energy, but then it's also nullifying all cursed energy that it comes in contact with. The technique for Limitless has to target something in order to slow it down to a point that it seems like it's stopped. But would it be able to target something that is essentially nullifying the effects of all cursed energies? It's to me, the way I look at it is that it's the same as the inverted spear of heaven. They don't have remote turn off. Or touching the space, not the technique. The TSO don't remotely turn off techniques targeting them. They don't turn off. They don't have remote turn off. But the technique still has to target it though. That's the issue that I'm having. It still has to target it, but how can it target something that's nullifying the effects of all of any, in this case, cursed technique targeting it to begin with? Naruto, like, I understand the concept of it, but I feel like Infinity still has to apply to the object that it is targeting, right? How can it apply to something that is constantly negating it? This is why I hate verse equalization, man. Like, if it were just a case of, like, TSO versus Infinity, I would 100% say, like, no, it cannot do it because it has mass to it, and it has a finite speed. Which Yonko is the best? I'm not... Scott, I appreciate the questions, but we're focusing on, like, these before I get to the other stuff.
Not the same chakra.
Best Yonko has the best aura farmer, Shanks.
Infusion that normal genjutsu carries.
But in my opinion, Luffy.
There's a bit more evidence for this with another sound-based
Look like a
genjutsu,
barrier.
and
If
flute
the TSO
genjutsu.
comes in contact with the cursed energy, it would nullify. That's what I'm saying, man. Like, I do feel like it, because there is a technique, because like we know for a fact that when it comes to Infinity, I'll just DM you about getting limited by YouTube. Getting limited by YouTube comments. Okay. I think it's more or less just one of those situations where it's like, because if you guys recall, when Gojo was fighting what's his face and Hanami and Jogo, he was upping the volume of Infinity, which means that there's a constant output and stream of cursed energy that must be flowing out of Gojo for him to be able to use Limitless. It's just that it's so fine-tuned and he uses so little of it so efficiently that you cannot necessarily see it, but it essentially is a barrier that is around him. That's why I think it would technically bypass it.
Where Kabuto is able to, on both Itachi and Sasuke, while they have their Susanoo up, activate the ability successfully, and then stated that since their Susanoo can't block sound, they can't keep from getting caught in the genjutsu. And that's the same thing that should happen to Gojo whenever Frog's
why
on.
they grant special powers.
I'm not claiming Susanoo and
so
Infinity
weird,
are the
man.
same
It
type of barrier
really is
technique.
just so
I'm just saying
fucking
that
weird.
the sound is what's deadly here. It's not something chakra.
I get that like TSO doesn't work on like spatial techniques, but it also depends because this is like a different form of spatial technique than something like Kamui or even like Amino Minaka. Well, actually that's not even true because like you can technically make the argument that like yeah, no, they would destroy the time space, especially like in a time space ninjutsu. They just wouldn't destroy. They just don't have like the mass or the size to destroy it. Actually, inverse equalization, whose power system gets equalized to what? Like, does chakra become Haki or does Haki become... They both would become each other, which is the stupid part, in my opinion.
There's an entire separate conversation to be had on whether or not Gojo is actually susceptible to Genjutsu in the first place, and it stems from the fact that Gojo is stated to always keep his brain fresh by...
I think it depends on, like, it depends if Infinity's space is a product of the technique or the technique itself. It's one of the applications of the technique, so it is a product of the technique, same way as blue and red. It's like, it's not so much, well, it's like a product more so it's like an application. It's more so like an application, so it's whether or not you think, because Infinity itself is the concept of bringing this concept of space, of infinite space to reality, which is the issue, right? So it's like bringing, oh man, I don't know. This is so fucking stupid. I really hate, because, okay, so I really hate the concept of verse equalization, because when you get into like more specific and more complex techniques like Infinity, it really just becomes an argument of like, you have to just ask both authors, man. This is why I just don't like the concept of verse equalization.
Running reverse curse technique at all times.
Overwhelming with sheer power. How do you get past Infinity though? How do you overwhelm Gojo with sheer power if you can't get past Infinity? Since Infinity divides space, could you bypass it by moving faster than it can divide? It's not so much that you can move faster than it can divide. It's because the thing is that, like, we've never seen something move so fast that it can bypass Infinity. We've seen something just tear straight through space, like the world-cutting slash, or something that, or a cursed amplification technique that doesn't have infinite speed but just overflows the space itself, essentially, basically opening up the domain. If you believe that Infinity is a CE construct, then it should be negated by the T. So if not, then
to make sure he doesn't get tired.
But it technically is a bit of a construct, since it is space that is, since it is a concept that is brought into reality.
Would that
it still takes stamina from him. Yeah, but it depends on what. It depends on, like, it depends on how much stamina do you think the other character has before they run out of energy. Because Gojo always uses up an infinitesimally close... he always uses up cursed energy at a point that is infinitesimally close to zero. Infinitesimally means that it is as close to zero as possible, mathematically speaking. Yes, by that logic, Goku 100% can't do shit against Gojo. If you verse equalize, Goku curb stomps Gojo because he bypasses... Infinity through sheer raw power, but that's because of key hacks rather than that's because it's key hacks rather than it being just regular JJK hacks. Key hacks allow you to bypass and ignore your opponent's abilities regardless of how they work, because you're just stronger than them. Same with Bleach. That's what makes Key, in my opinion, a very boring power system. Power systems where you're just able to overpower the other individual by just being straight up stronger than them, no matter how crazy the hacks is, like Dragon Ball and Bleach, that's basically how it works. He can't maintain... No, he can quite literally maintain Infinity forever. That is objectively not true. He never runs out of cursed energy because he naturally creates more cursed energy than he uses up, Peter. Like, for you to say that he can't, it would be objectively incorrect in comparison to the other stuff that Gojo's doing. As long as Gojo just stands there, you can punch him all you want. You will run out of energy before he does, unless you have, objectively speaking, infinite energy. Gojo wastes cursed energy at an infinitesimally close to zero rate, but he still wastes cursed energy.
It seems like the obvious conclusion would be that, well, Gojo can't be caught in Genjutsu, at least not for long, because his brain would refresh and break him out of it. And I'd be inclined to believe...
Now that we know that the crowds have Sea Prism Stone, in which is as hard as a diamond, it's kind of weird, actually, because here's a funny method, what is Naruto just use Kurama's loud roar to damage? He could actually use Kurama's loud roar. He could definitely use Kurama's loud roar. I don't know if that would put down Gojo, but he could definitely do it. And the issue is also that, like, Gojo just has RCT. Off topic, but who's stronger between Orange Mask, Obito, and Pain? You can definitely make the argument that Pain would always win. You can still send him to outer... How can you send Gojo to outer space, though? How can you send him to outer space? Like, what character would be doing that? Can they, like, teleport characters in front of them to other locations? Yeah, sure. They would win then. I would 100% agree with that, but at that point, it's like, who are we talking about? If you're talking about, like, physically sending him to outer space, I do not believe they can do that. What character is physically sending Gojo to outer space? With a single punch? How are they making physical contact?
This on a surface level, but that doesn't mean Gojo's brain can't be damaged. We see that in the Sukuna fight. What it does mean, in the context it's spoken in...
That, the idea of CT burnout, though, only happens because of domain expansion. He's constantly renewing his brain normally with RCT, though. The reason why Gojo never burns out is because he has RCT. The only time his CT can burn out is when he's using domain expansion. And the only time he gets brain damage is when he's using RCT to heal the burnout state.
is that Gojo won't fatigue his brain while running the curse technique
Yeah.
all day, so he doesn't get tired the same way he did when he kept it on during the hidden inventory arc. In other words, Gojo doesn't keep a fresh brain in the sense that his brain is always at 100% efficiency. He keeps a fresh brain in the sense that he isn't going to get tired. That being said, this win con is admittedly kind of a long shot, since Naruto doesn't ever really summon Ma and Pa again after the pain arc. But if he's truly out of options, I could see him thinking this way, and to be honest, Naruto normally thinks of crazy out there win conditions anyway, like the Demon Wind Shuriken playing against Zabuza, using Sexy Jutsu on Kaguya, or forming the Rasengan with two hands versus Kabuto. So it's not like this is too much of a reach.
It's not too much of a reach, but it really does feel like you would have, like, Naruto would have to, like,
and this is
just
kind
run
of
out of
similar to how
every other
Gojo
option.
explains Infinity, where he tells Jogo that it's something naturally there, and he brings it to reality.
Yeah.
Nature energy is also naturally there, and Naruto just knows how to weaponize it.
Yeah. So nature energy is actually one of those concepts that I do think, like, regardless of verse equalization or not, I do think could bypass Infinity and hit Gojo. This is an actual argument that I could definitely see happening. The reason being that nature energy doesn't necessarily have, like, a mass, or I guess you could maybe argue that it does have a speed to it, but I don't know if you could necessarily argue that Infinity could target it in the same way, since it is also intangible. You know what I mean? It's intangible, it does have a speed to it, but you can't really argue. Well, it's also kind of weird, because it's like nature energy is something that is already out there. But in this case, it would also be... Would it be considered... Okay. Is Senjutsu a form of... Is Senjutsu necessarily a form of cursed energy in this case? Goku can also break dimensions and has some infinite speed scaling. He does have win cons. But see, that's the thing though. That is a more considerable argument than just saying, like, oh, he gets punched through, right? Instant transmission will probably work, but instant transmission doesn't put Goku literally, like, inside of Infinity. You know what I mean? Like, anytime Goku's ever used instant transmission, he's near the person, he's never on top of them. Yami versus Zoro drinking. Zoro is winning that contest 10 times out of 10. Have you seen the things that Zoro's drink? The amount of quantities of liquor that Zoro's drink? I'm sorry. I don't think Yami's beating him that. Could Advanced Conqueror's Haki pass through Infinity? You could probably make the argument that it could, because it also has no mass to it. Because, okay, so Infinity works by targeting mass, speed, and cursed energy output. If you have, if it has no mass and no, if it doesn't have any cursed energy output, but it still has mass and speed, I can still see it be stopped. If it has cursed energy at all, I could definitely see it be stopped. But if it has, like, only speed, but no mass or, cursed energy, kind of like a sound-based attack, I probably would see it actually bypass Infinity, which is why I do think that, like, nature energy could do it. Is Law overkill to Naruto verse? I think Ope Ope no Mi is underrated because he can instant teleport and chop down in seconds. Yeah, no, I've actually mentioned this before in one of my last live streams. I think Haki would bypass Limitless, to be honest. Yeah, I do think that Haki would bypass it, all things considered, especially the emission applications. Not like regular hardening or even internal destruction, but the emission application I definitely do think could bypass. Law is definitely a character that I've been talking about, especially in my Discord chats with my members. If anybody, by the way, guys, for all of you those that got gifted a membership, the many Discord members like to join in on voice chats to just chat with one another, play games, do whatever, on the every evening. There's no set time limit, and there's no set, like, time, times that you guys can do it in. You guys can just join in and chat with each other as long as you're being respectful to one another, as long as you're not being insulting. This is a conversation, and I usually pop in every now and then to chat with you guys myself. So if you'd actually like to have opportunity to chat with me as well, for those of you that became members, or for those of you who became gifted subs, I would 100% say that, yeah, show up to the Discord chat, chat with everybody. It's all good. We try to all be respectful there to everyone from all walks of life. Now, back to the conversation. Something that I brought up before was specifically just with Law. Yeah, no, Law kind of negs most of Naruto, specifically because he has a method by which he can deal internal damage while also completely negating the ability to regenerate. He has instant teleportation in the form of Room that I would argue has higher range than something like Amino Tejikara, which is Sasuke's shift ability, not including the ability to create time-space holes to teleport into other dimensions. Law can't do that necessarily. And he also has a way to attack the soul itself. So yeah, it's pretty interesting. Yes, I did see Steinixo's video on internal destruction. By the way, guys, I will be having a stream with Steinixos this Friday starting at 8 p.m. So, the day after tomorrow, be sure to check that out.
Considering nature energy isn't naturally harmful, there's no reason to believe it wouldn't be surrounding Gojo the same way Infinity does.
It would,
in which case,
definitely
Naruto
be
should be able to
Gojo.
capitalize and make Gojo look like the Predator Path with a similar attack to what he used in that fight. But as for Naruto's
I
standard
think it's a bit weird though, because you would have to argue that Naruto could get up. It depends on like what the range of Frog Kata is, right? Naruto can't necessarily, and this is one of the things that I feel like I would have to also like touch upon, is that Naruto cannot necessarily like just have the nature energy like in front of you, right? Like if he's standing away like 10 meters away or even like a meter away, Naruto can't necessarily make like the nature energy in front of you like just like punch you in the stomach or the gut or the face, right? Frog Kata doesn't work like that. Frog Kata works by taking the nature energy within the user or around the user itself and weaponizing it, right? I don't know what the exact range of it is, but as you might have seen right here, he was relatively close to the Predator Path, which I don't know if Naruto could necessarily get close enough to Gojo to weaponize it, since Infinity does seem to have a bit of a larger distance than this, but I'm sure that like the distance shouldn't be too big of a gap that Naruto can't just like shoot a blast of nature energy at Gojo's face, just to be clear.
Capitalize and make Gojo look like the Predator Path with a similar attack to what he used in that fight. But as for Naruto's standard way to get past Infinity, it pretty much ends there. And just to be clear, that's with True Secret Orbs, Frog Song Genjutsu, and utilizing nature energy. His last way to bypass Infinity is going to require Gojo to go on the offense, so let's talk about domain expansion. I don't really want to argue about if Limitless Void would work on Naruto, because I think it would. And why do I think it would? The idea that the domain wouldn't work on someone is based on a mistaken belief, that being that the domain just floods your brain with an infinite amount of information really quickly, and if you can withstand that, then you can withstand the domain and beat Gojo inside of it. But that's not how Unlimited Void works. To be fair, I understand where the misconception comes from. Jogo says that he can see everything, but Gege has corrected himself on this and said that it should be more like, I feel like I can see everything. And we get a diagram sort of comparing how one would think both inside and outside of Unlimited Void. Outside, if your train of thought was Apple, Gorilla, Trumpet, then you just think in your head in that order. But with Infinity, it doesn't let you continue past the beginning point. So instead of starting with Apple and ending with Trumpet, you'd start with the A in Apple and then continue to say A over and over and over again. This is why someone gets frozen inside Infinite Void. The act of moving your hand from point A to point B gets stuck at point A until the domain is lifted from you or until Gojo lays a hand on you. We've seen before that you can actually think inside of Gojo's domain. Jogo has an entire thought process inside of Unlimited Void describing how he feels, and Sukuna thinks of the incantations to summon Mahoraga, which make Mahoraga, who adapted to the curse technique, able to move freely inside of the domain and break him out of it. Naruto's ability to process mass amounts of information so quickly will be tested after the domain expansion is over, meaning however long Naruto sits in the domain, the lower his chances are of actually surviving once the domain is over.
I don't think that Naruto can necessarily a literal Bruskin of death mentally. Yeah, I don't think that Naruto can survive Infinite Void whatsoever, especially if Gojo's able to land it on him. There's a bit of a question to be asked. There's a bit of a circumstance here to be talked about in whether or not Naruto's danger sense, which allows him to sense all things in the universe, would immediately tell Naruto like back the fuck up from Gojo as much as possible, even though Gojo has been seen to be capable of creating a domain expansion much larger than your average one.
Given the circumstances that Gojo is going to use the domain under in this fight, I don't imagine he'd let up the domain super fast and potentially would leave Naruto in there for as long as possible. That being said, we have known Gojo to use his domain for specific periods of time. In the case of Sukuna, he was in it for less than 10 seconds, which we'll just round to 10. And in the case of the subway station where Gojo famously opened his domain for 0.2 seconds. I want to talk about whether or not Naruto could survive these intervals before talking about if he could hang in there for potentially even longer. 0.2 seconds in Gojo's domain results in about half of a year's worth of information. Naruto actually has some level of experience with this as he trains using 1000 clones in order to master techniques way faster. Kakashi claims that with this method, the moves that would take 20 years to learn could be learned within a week. If you convert what he's saying to numbers here, that means Naruto is training about 8 hours a day, roughly, on 1000 clones, and he gets all of their mental fatigue at the end, which is a total of about 8,000 hours, all dumped onto him at once, which is 333 days or 11 or so months worth of time. And one thing that leans in Naruto's favor is that while Infinity forces the same action on you multiple times, Naruto is doing the same action across different clones. So Naruto should be able to survive a 0.2 second domain from Gojo. I do want to point out that Naruto is doing far more mentally taxing things than what would be simply repeating the same thing over and over. So 0.2 seconds inside the domain.
By the way, Thine, I read By the way, Thine, I read your comment. I kind of get what you're I kind of get what you mean now. And it's not touching infinite. It's not touching infinity. It's being targeted by infinity. TSO doesn't stop Naruto. A nature energy should be in everything, even the things around Gojo. Also, there isn't a statement about foreign energy bypassing. I don't think there is a statement about. No, I don't recall this. Didn't Naruto get healed? Naruto did not get healed during this part. I think he was. I think Sakura did come in to give him some like food training pills. If I recall right, Naruto was receiving some food pills from Sakura, but she wasn't actually being healed up. This was around chapter 420 something. No, not 420 something. What am I talking about? It was like 320 something. It was like 320 something. Yeah, because he just started the training around this point in the story. Yeah. This is right at the start of the training. Yeah. Yeah, no, he doesn't really get any training during this point in the arc, if I recall correctly. Alright, yeah. A bunch of bozos getting killed. Yeah. A bunch of part 1 Luffy victims. Yeah. Part 1 victims, part 1 honestly, they probably unironically they're let me stop. The one about Miguel's whip. No, the one about Miguel's whip specifically negates cursed energy. No, he doesn't heal. Yamato doesn't heal. Yeah, no. Yamato doesn't ever heal Naruto. At least as far as I can recall, he doesn't. Yeah, he doesn't.
As for if he could take 10 seconds inside the domain, that's a completely different story. I will say, given Naruto's ability to take 11 months of what is more taxing information than Gojo's domain in a shorter amount of time than what Gojo's domain would be putting on him, does lead me to believe he might respond to the 10 seconds in a similar way to Sukuna did, or even far better, which would make it to where he isn't incapacitated, and we'll talk about how and what that means in a second. But when it comes to Naruto, you can definitely highball the amount of clones he can make to get this information to an insane number. Kakashi tells Naruto to make 1 clone per leaf on the tree in front of them, and if we take the simple average of 200,000 leaves, which are normally on trees, then Naruto can take the full blowback of 200,000 clones dispersing after an 8-hour training day, which is more than 180 years of information dumped onto him all at the same time. That being the case, if we do our multiplier stacking, 6 months for 0.2 seconds in the domain would equal about 25 years if we were to take someone being in there for 10 seconds, meaning this highball Naruto could more than take the brunt of a 10-second unlimited void. However, the issues with this argument are obviously assuming that Naruto made all 200,000 clones at the same time, which literally isn't provable. So with this being the case, if Gojo decides to keep Naruto in there for a full minute or something like that, we might be dealing with levels Naruto can't handle, but Naruto isn't without his ways to escape infinity beforehand. Kurama inside of Naruto can definitely break the domain using chakra arms, or if Naruto had summoned any toad.
Why would Kurama be able to rip out the domain? He wouldn't even be able to find the borders of the domain. Not to mention if Gojo creates like a normal domain where it's extremely difficult to get out of it, under what reasoning would he be able to rip it right out of? We've never seen somebody just like break themselves right out, like force their way out of a domain.
Or made any clones beforehand, which is pretty likely. They could break the domain from the outside, or in the case of
that
the
I
clones,
can agree with.
Even reverse summon him.
This
out
portion
of the
right here,
domain.
I can definitely
It's
agree
also possible that with the use of the clones, Gojo might trap the wrong Naruto inside the domain in the first place. Naruto also.
I don't think this is true. One thing that like Six, I don't think he ever like really brings up is that like the Six Eyes, Gojo's Six Eyes would allow him to decipher everything Naruto can do from the moment he sees him. But whether it's the truth-seeking orbs, nature energy, all of, do you believe Gojo's domain could allow cramming before a big exam? Fuck no. I think if you get hit by Gojo's domain, it would. Thank you, by the way, Omi. I think if like you allow for Gojo's domain, if you get hit by that thing, even like 0.2 seconds would fry you for a couple of months. Fun fact: there are some statements suggesting Six-Pack Naruto had more chakra than Kaguya. Really? Hey, Jeff, thank you for the 9 months. Bleach scaling is Dookie, especially speed scaling. Transcended Ryatsu that can affect whole dimensions.
Also could potentially use his techniques.
When he was fighting the clone guy that was able to like shift himself between like his different clones and make like one clone like the real body, he was mentioning like he could literally figure it out by just seeing him once. And in Naruto's case, his clones, no matter how well he makes them, he should still be able to tell the difference.
inside of a domain, similar to how Sukuna did, where Sukuna summoned Maharaga even through the effects of Unlimited Void. If this can happen, I don't see why a move that doesn't require physical movement, such as the Rasengan, couldn't also be used and he just make a big one big enough to explode the domain. My point being here is that Naruto has plenty of ways to avoid the domain aside from ways to counter Infinity himself, but if he does manage to properly destroy the domain, then Gojo automatically loses because his curse technique will be burnt out, Infinity will be down, and Naruto will just beat him up. That's all I have to say about this, however.
Well, he would have, well, okay, he would have RCT. He would have RCT burnout. He would have a way to like refix to like do the RCT burnout, but that's basically the only thing I really would have to say on that. I don't know. What I got a comment. Downplaying One Piece is so annoying. Sugar's Fruit alone solo is most of fiction. You could even affect stronger hockey users. Like, yeah, that's true. Pretty good video, but I think there are some things I do disagree with. I don't think that he ever considers like Six's ability to actually decipher everything that his opponent can do just by looking at them, just by like staring at them. I do think that he would know, especially be able to tell which one of Naruto's clones is which, since he was able to tell whether or not a technique allowed the user to, the clone user to be able to swap between himself and his other bodies. I do think that he would be able to figure out that the Truth-Seeking Orbs, whether or not they would be able to bypass his Infinity, since the Six Eyes themselves are not a curse technique, more so a trait. I do think that Naruto really would not use the, even in character, I don't think he would use it. It was a very specific situation where he already had Monpa coming with him for the Frog Song, though granted, it's fine if you think that like if there really is no other choice then he would pull it off. I do think that Frog Kata would blast right through it because I don't think that Infinity would be able to like pick up on it, but I don't know if Naruto's going to be able to tank a domain expansion. Your video you suggested is right here. That's 40 minutes. I'm going to watch that on another stream, man. I'm going to watch, if it's 40 minutes, I'm not going to watch that right now. I don't have the time for that.
Jujutsu Kaisen sorcerers are portrayed as Japan's main defenders against cursed spirits.
okay.
Some would even call them heroes for maintaining peace and order against malicious individuals. And while they operate far from the public
I don't feel good making a video that I have no fucking belief in, like Itachi soloing all of Naruto and Boruto, even if it's funny. I would have to get paid for that one. I'm not gonna lie to you.
eye, they're still susceptible to some figures who wouldn't agree with how they conduct themselves or how much control they have over the Jujutsu world. So in this case, enter the hero hunter Garu, a character who shares many similarities with the sorcerer's killer, banished and bullied for simply harboring different thoughts and having different genetic.
I currently am not in agreement with this. From where I'm at right now in Bleach, I do not believe this in the slightest bit.
Wanted to
Oh wait, no, not this.
So what happens if the hero hunter Garu accepts the offer of hunting Japan's elite sorcerers? Who would he be able to hunt and where does he stop? But before that, make sure to destroy the subscribe button and the notification bell for more of these One Punch Man videos. Thank you. Jujutsu Kaisen has introduced over 55 known sorcerers throughout the series, ranging from students and teachers at Tokyo and Kyoto Jujutsu High to elite members of the Zenin, Kamo, and Gojo clans, as well as participants in the Deadly Calling game. These sorcerers are classified by grade, from grade 4 all the way up to special grade, which is a tier reserved for anomalies with insane curse techniques and immense strength. So in this video, we obviously wouldn't be able to cover every single sorcerer, but instead focus on the most well-known characters, those who has left an impact on the story. But before that, it's very important to understand how strong the overall verse is. You see, I've already covered many videos and basically researched this verse multiple times to try and figure out which meta we should be giving these characters, and you'd be surprised on the many interpretations people have specifically
Universal
regarding
Circuit is
the
crazy.
top tiers of the verse. For instance, some would claim that since Yoki Tsukumo, a special grade sorcerer, narratively inferior to the likes of Gojo, Sukuna, and even Yuta, managed to create a black hole capable of destroying the entire planet, then that can only mean that the others should be capable of performing feats equal or straight up.
So, the whole Yuki thing is kind of interesting to me because, like, if she did let go of the black hole, if she didn't, like, sustain it the best she could, and it wasn't also for Tengen's barriers. There is an argument that like she could have basically taken out like the entire planet, which is true, but it also would be a technique that would have been A, based on death, and B, it works by a metric that none of the other sorcerers necessarily work by, right? This isn't a matter of like attack potency, more so just a it's less of an argument. Yeah, no, I don't believe. I think that the Yadamir and the Totsuka Blade are entirely reliant on Itachi's speed and his ability to react. Yeah. I know it's a joke, but like, really, I don't think it works. So it's like, with Yuki, this ability, I'm not saying that like it scales over these guys, but more so, it works on an axis that is completely different by any of the metrics that they use, right? She's essentially using a... It's basically like a martyrdom technique that, again, could probably destroy the whole world, but it's doing so by creating an infinite mass, which none of these guys, A, can do, and B, they can replicate.
Superior to this
It's
level.
also not
However,
reliant on attack
Yuki's
potency
black
like any of
hole
these guys.
is EHAC's ability.
Yeah,
People
good
really need
tax.
to understand that she didn't make a black hole out of cursed
Yeah, what's up,
energy
Lambert?
just because she could. Only she could do that. Anybody with cursed energy or output, same as Yuki, wouldn't be able to create a black hole because their body simply doesn't have the properties to create that technique, which means that you can't root any objective
I do think it's an
informations to
outlier.
argue that these guys are planetary in terms of AP just because of this one single outlier. Another argument suggests that characters should scale to their creation feats. This mainly talks about Jogo and Dagon's
you, Six.
domains, placing them at mountain to island level of AP. This simply doesn't hold up, considering that Jogo narratively is most definitely stronger than Dagon, who has a better creation feat than his. This kind of logic simply doesn't hold up for many flaws contained in the story. You also
Hey,
can't
Omi,
possibly
thank you for the
argue that
$2. Next topic, Gojo versus Yami Yugi, please. Gojo blitzes the fuck out of them and curb stomps. Because Yami Yugi is not a combatant, and summoning the Egyptian gods, I'm not gonna lie, isn't gonna stop him from just hollow purpling Yugi and then him dying. Like, I really don't think the Egyptian gods are gonna stop him from just getting flicked away by a hollow purple. Or even blue. Or red. Like, he's still a human at the end of the day. He has, like, no real, like, physical body feats.
Gojo is universal in AP just because he somehow
It doesn't
creates a
cause her
universe.
death, but it's essentially one of those situations where, like, she has no... If she increases the mass of her body to a point she creates a singularity, she's basically going to get herself killed.
The point I'm trying to make here is that creation feats should not equate to direct attack potency.
Yeah, I do
In
believe
any
this.
case, the third meta, which I feel
do
like
believe that.
is the one that makes the most sense, is that characters like Gojo and
Hey,
Sukuna
my
should
boy
be at least
Brandon.
large
Everybody,
town to
everybody in the chat. Say Brandon Rodriguez eats beans, please, for me. Brandon out here eating massive, copious amounts of beans. Type shit. But what if they fought while playing a card game on a motorcycle? That would probably change things just a tad bit, just a slight bit. Have divine powers, at least when plot demands. It didn't stop them from getting stolen multiple. That's what I'm saying. They're just cards at the end of the day, man. Crazy. I don't eat beans though. I don't eat. Not just Brandon eats beans. I don't eat beans. Stop saying. That's crazy.
small city level of attack potency. This obviously comes from scaling
Rush Town
to
to small city is fucking insane.
Jogo's maximum meteors said to be
Yeah,
able to
let's
hurt
get some
15
Brandon eat
finger
beans in the
Sakura,
chat.
which
Let's
means
get
that
this.
characters such as Yuji, Hakari, Yuta, Maki, and Kashimo are definitely below the large town level.
He's basically basing Suka entirely on destructive capacity, which I don't think is a fair way to scale him. But
Of
sure.
physical strength. This could be substantiated by characters like Oraume and
I don't
Ryo,
eat beans,
who
bro.
has small town
Alright.
to town level of
Alrighty
energy
then.
outputs blocked by Yuta, who is narratively portrayed to being on the same
wouldn't
level
blame
as
you for thinking
Maki,
Kashima's a girl.
Hakari, and last battle Yuji,
Brandon
which ultimately
Rodriguez,
means
D
that the
bean
top
eater,
tier
type
should
shit,
be a
type shit.
large town to small city level. The other special grades are small town to town level, with lower tier sorcerers being significantly weaker. Now things gets even more absurd when talking about speed in the Jujutsu Kaisen world. You see, if we choose to take author statements at face
Doesn't
value and
Yugi blow
ignore
up the moon
calculations
during a duel? When the fuck did he do that? Yuki or Yugi? I don't remember him doing that, and I watched all of Yu-Gi-Oh. Oh no! He slashes the moon with the giant soldier of stone, but it was a moon that he put. It was a card moon. $10 for the Brandon Rodriguez eats beans. Let's fucking go. Yeah, Brandon out here eating beans, bro. That shit. Type shit. You know what? Let me take a flick of this with my phone, man. Let me take an actual flick of this shit with my fucking Omi with the W, bro. Omi with the W. Honestly, Omi, I really appreciate you, man. Type shit, type shit, type shit. Let's go.
And other scientific interpretations, then the verse
Hard Moon
would
greater than
clearly
Real
cap
Moon,
at
Yugi
Mach
Solos
3,
type
with
shit.
high tiers being slightly above. Calculations,
W,
on the
Omi.
other
Let's get
hand,
some W,
indicate a
Omis in
different
chat and some
story.
Brandon and Beans in
Hypersonic
chat.
to hypersonic plus
Crazy.
levels of speed are something granted to Sukuna via multiple questionable calcs, such as blitzing Chozi's piercing blood. In fact, if you ask me, I feel like this should realistically be the level of speed of the high tier characters in the series, since to be frankly honest, the remaining two metas that would upscale the verse considerably are highly questionable and in times downright unreasonable. Many people often think that the Jujutsu Kaisen verse should at least be massively hypersonic plus for a very questionable panel of Hakari dodging lightning at some extent. Kashimo could have simply targeted Hakari's arm from the get-go, especially considering the
He wasn't targeting his arm, and more important, definitely wasn't targeting his arm. That's entirely speculation, and especially since it's coming straight for his head. It's going straight. And second, we know for a fact that later on when Hakari is charged up with a negative or positive charge, whichever one was the one that was like gonna make the attack come in for him again, he literally pushes it out of his nose. He literally pushes it out of his nose, like all of the cursed energy out of his nose.
Kashimo could have simply targeted Hakari's arm from the get-go,
Alright.
especially considering the fact that his lightning strokes are explained to being impossible to dodge. The other
They're
questionable
impossible
feat,
to
funny
dodge
enough,
because it's basically creating like an A-B receptor where the let's say A is Kashimo. The lightning is always he basically charges up his opponent with lightning, and then the lightning strike targets them. What piece scaling gets Sukuna above small city?
also comes from Kashimo's electromagnetic waves that Sukuna was able to dodge. But I personally tend to agree with most people who thinks that this is aim dodging. He didn't really dodge a lot.
1 second. This right here is also what piece of scaling gets Sukuna above small city level. The fact that he's constantly destroying these fucking buildings without even remotely, with all of his slashes casually, without it even remotely holding any type of damage. Wait 1 second. The fact that he should at the very least be stronger than the version of himself that literally wiped out 200 meters, well, 140 meters from Shibuya. He should at least be at least a quarter stronger than that, or at least 0.125 times stronger than that. I don't know, man. He's my king. I gotta glaze him. Anyway, this little animation that he's doing right here, I don't like it because it's essentially giving off the idea that he's aim dodging, where nothing in the panel even remotely implies to that. Hand is in front of face in one panel, dodges it next as the attack is coming out.
Personally tend to agree with most people who thinks that this is aim dodging. He didn't really dodge a light speed attack, but merely dodged before it was activated. But regardless of
It also doesn't give a time frame for whether or not Sukuna moved out of the way first. It literally shows him and the attack moving and hitting at the same time.
these clear contradictions, and my stand
That's not a
regarding these
contradiction.
arguments would still be including these matters in this video.
Also,
now,
to aim dodge means that you have to move beforehand. To aim dodge objectively means that you have to move before the attack comes out. Nothing about the panel even remotely implies that.
Similar to Hunter x Hunter, this series fights are usually highly technical, with characters depending on their hacks, techniques, and proficiency in using cursed energy. Best example is Gocho's Infinity and Yuki's Black Hole. These two abilities grant the user solid grounds and chances even against characters who are physically stronger than them. You also have other tricky abilities very hard to counter against, like Boogie Woogie and Cursed Speech. Not to mention Domain Expansion that grants the user guaranteed hits against his opponents. Gojo's Domain allows him to overload his opponent's mind with limitless informations, rendering them incapable of doing anything. Hakari's Domain allows him to have infinite curse in it,
Alright, we
since
get all
we
this.
do not have any explanations of how it works. And with all of this being said, can any sorcerer overcome the Hero Hunter?
Yeah, let's get to the one on scan.
When talking about physical strength, you can say that Garu has the upper hand
It's not
against any
domain hacks
character.
because it's not domain hacks because its domain specifically. It's not domain hacks because its domain specifically works off of its own raw attack potency. As a matter of fact, he's constantly saying, "I was going for 3 slashes, it came out to 5. I was going for 3 slashes, but you only got hit once." His domain expansion isn't a complex, doesn't work off of a complex technique like Limitless, like Gojo, where it's feeding information, so it's not hacks, it's actual attack potency.
in Jujutsu Kaisen. While Garu was fatigued, injured, and poisoned, he was still matching post G4 Genos and tanking his attacks. He was also withstanding heavy punishment from both Bang and Bomb, in which one of them later on stated that he was certainly not holding back. A Silver Fang is by the very least mountain level in the strength department, and judging that they couldn't one-shot him even in his poisoned state, suggests that Garu would at the very least be city level in terms of attack potency. When tackling the speed department on the other hand, taking in consideration that someone like Atomic Samurai can casually cut at massively hypersonic plus speeds but still gets overwhelmed by Homeless Emperor's super dense carpet bombs that both Ion and Spring Mustachio are able to hold out against, then someone like Garu should be within the same general range of speed, if not even higher, as these two A-class heroes. This is obviously without accounting for the speed of light meta in One Punch Man, with also ignoring databook statements suggesting that Max and Genji are lightning timer characters. So strictly speaking, if it comes to physical confrontation, no techniques or abilities involved, human Garu cripples everybody in Jujutsu Kaisen. But it's not really that simple, since we mentioned prior that Jujutsu Kaisen is a verse heavily invested in techniques, hacks, and abilities. With that in mind, speaking purely of the non-special grade level sorcerers, let's say Garu first decided to attack the Zenin clan head-on, just like Maki did. We know that the only two characters that would stand a chance are Naobito and Naoya, strictly for possessing projection sorcery. However, Garu is literally the king of adaptability and reactive evolution. If he somehow
does increase the amount of slashes he can output along with the range. Yeah, but that doesn't exactly equate to hacks, though. It's equating to the amount of damage that he's doing, not to mention the output of his slash. He can even increase the amount, and he's also increasing the output based on its range, right? So the closer his domain expansion is to him, the smaller the range is, the more powerful the slashes are. For example, his domain expansion wasn't able to entirely rip apart Gojo's domain expansion, especially when he turned it into the size of a basketball and he increased its damage output. That basically means that the damage that he would have had to have pulled out for him to like rip apart Gojo's basketball-sized domain expansion would actually have to be higher. Would actually have to be way higher than city level, considering the difference in size and range.
By a miracle gets touched by Naobito or Naoya's palm pause, then Garu will just simply learn how to abide by the 24 frames per second rule. And if that ability is useless and
when did Naruto tank a multi-continental attack? What about the attack was stated to be multi-continental? As far as I remember, they only fought in a single continent, and they didn't blow up continents. They never blew up a single other continent. You can maybe say multi-country. That's fine. The Ten Tails, I'm 100% in agreement that Ten Tails could be continental or multi-country or whatever the fuck you want to call it, but it's definitely not a multi-continental thing.
they can't use it against him, the clan's fate is already decided. Same case with Todo's Boogie Woogie. If someone like Hanami managed to adapt to it mid-combat, then Garu would simply do the same, but on a much higher frequency. Todo wouldn't be able to swap positions with Garu, since that ability requires the object to at least have above a certain amount of cursed energy that Garu doesn't possess. And even if he can, as soon as he gets closer to Garu and engage with him in a close quarter fight, I don't think Garu would even need to use the Water Streamlock Smashing Fist. Inumaki, on the other hand, can use Cursed Speech on Garu, but since the latter is just physically stronger than anybody in the verse, Inumaki's energy would be depleted before he gets a chance to do anything. All of these informations function to convey that Garu would be able to hunt most of these low to mid-tier sorcerers. Now, when it comes to special grade sorcerers, or characters who should narratively be on that level, it's very important to remember that Garu would be treated same as Maki and Toji, someone who'd be totally immune to domain expansions due to possessing zero cursed energy. You see, if you say that we should grant Garu cursed energy to create a fair fight by making him susceptible to domain expansions, then this would actually make things much more complicated. Think about it this way. Garu having cursed energy would just make him stronger in every field. His potential would allow him to be proficient in cursed energy, learn how to regenerate, and possibly develop a domain, and that would literally be the definition of unfair. By this logic, Garu would simply refuse to enter any domain expansion, which means that Higuruma wouldn't be able to put Garu on the stand, and even if he does and Garu confesses of his crimes, there's no telling of which verdict he's going to get, since we've only seen one, which is deactivating the guilty's cursed energy, something that Garu doesn't possess. Hakari also can't get Garu inside his Restless Gambler domain, wouldn't be able to get the jackpot, no infinite cursed energy or regen, and he'd be completely cooked. Even if he uses his domain against a third party prior to this fight like he did against Kashimo, Garu
What? Does Kakari necessarily need to get someone inside his domain expansion for him to use, for him to get the thing? The jackpot?
He also can't get Garu inside his Restless Gambler domain, wouldn't be able to get the jackpot, no infinite curse energy or regen, and he'd be completely cooked. Even if he uses his domain against a third party prior to this fight like he did against Kashimo, Garu would still be able to overwhelm Hakari even in his jackpot state. And since he also doesn't have any answers to Yuji's unexplained domain alongside Gojo's Unlimited Void, they would be the key to take him down. But as I said, since these two domains have barriers, he would just refuse to enter the domain. However, to be completely fair, there exist a few abilities that would prove to be difficult for Garu to handle, with some having the potential to defeat him. Granted, we need to allow JJK characters to have massively hypersonic to relativistic speeds to say they would not just be blitzed by Garu. With that,
But they do. But they do. Maki's legitimately able to like react to a literal lightning blast from Sukuna's enhanced Garuda, whatever the fuck that thing was called. Toji was able to evade its lightning blast as well. Sukuna's faster than the two of them. Sukuna is so fast, in fact, that Maki, he could speed blitz Maki, who could react to lightning. He dodged an EM wave in a weaker bot, bro.
That
Nah,
in mind,
that's
it's
crazy.
safe to say there exist 3 abilities that Garu would struggle with, and one that would certainly be too much for him to handle. Number 1 would be Megumi's 10 Shadow, specifically the Mahoraga ritual. If you account for
That's
the
a good
anime
point, King.
showcasing Mahoraga's ability to physically adapt to his opponents, with considering that Garu doesn't really have any destructive attacks to get rid of him before he activates his abilities, then this fight would just be a stalemate with both guys adapting to each other until Garu attains a strong destructive attack like Fajin that can destroy him completely. However, if we go by the manga standards where Mahoraga was never shown nor stated to have the ability to adapt physically, then Garu just destroys him. Number 2 would be
Yeah, no, Mahoraga can adapt to phenomena. It can't adapt to It can't adapt. I don't think it can adapt to. He can adapt. He does adapt by taking time to analyze after getting hit once, or does he adapt by getting hit multiple times? Doesn't Mahoraga? There's no shine that it ever shows that Mahoraga is getting adapting to the punches that he's getting hit with, right? Not really, right?
where Mahoraga was never shown nor stated to have the ability to adapt physically, then Garu just destroys him. Number 2 would be Takaba's comedian ability. I genuinely don't think that Garu would be able to deal with this same way Kinjaku did. However, if you want to argue that we've seen Garu adapting to unconventional abilities like telekinesis, so most likely he'd be able to override Takaba's reality manipulation, I personally
telekinesis
think
is
that
not
that's
the
a
same
reach
thing
but
as
still
reality
possible via
manipulation.
reactive
What are we
evolution.
talking
Number
about?
3 would be Gojo's Infinity. Hero Hunter Garu, as far as I'm aware of, has no way nor technique to bypass this ability. It's a highly complex application that goes beyond just reflecting and memorizing your opponent's movements. Maybe Monster Garu would be able to bypass Infinity since this is the same character who almost broke a dimensional seal. But Hero Hunter Garu, I have no idea how he would be able to deal with Infinity. However, it's very important to understand that I'm not saying that
He
Gojo
did learn
defeats
to box
Garu,
with
since he
Sukuna.
doesn't
Actually,
have
no,
any
he
attack
wasn't
that
learning
can't
how to
crack his
box with Sukuna. He was actually taking care of the slashes that he was getting hit with.
ability. All I'm saying that Garu would not be able to hurt Gojo either, possibly ending this fight in a stalemate. Number 4 would be Yuki's Black
Not a stalemate. Garu would always run out of energy before Gojo. He would always get tired before
Hole.
Gojo.
This is certainly something that Garu
All Gojo
doesn't
has to
have
do is
any
just
chance
be on the
against. A
offense,
planetary
try to
attack
hold
he
him
can
down.
deflect or
It doesn't
adapt to.
matter
I
how
would say
long
that
you
this is
think
the
Garu's
only
gonna
win
last,
condition
it's
these
going to
sorcerers
hell.
have that guarantees the defeat of Hero Hunter Garu. Now, I deliberately avoided talking about Sukuna since I made a video about him going up against One Punch Man monsters that you should go and check out. So to sum up this video, Garu would be able to deal with every sorcerer with having only characters that can pose a challenge to him. Mahoraga if he can physically adapt, Takaba's comedian ability, Gojo's Infinity, and Yuki's Black Hole. Until next time, please take good care.
Alright, that wasn't bad. I'm gonna check out this video
Check the future.
later though, because I do not have the time to do that right now. Okay. Let me catch you guys up a little bit on One Piece and Bleach. So for starters, as many of you may know, yeah, we're also gonna be reading a little bit of Kengan, but that's a little bit afterwards. The biggest things that I wanted to talk about, also I gotta get so cute. The little things that I gotta like really just come out and say are that 1060 60 P1. Oh wait, no. That's colored. I need black and white. Black and no color. Yeah. Okay. As many of you may know, One Piece has recently been going back into a flashback for the last... What was it? Last chapter we started it, so 1, 2, 3, 4, for the last 6 or so weeks. For the last like 6 or so weeks, a couple of months, right? The thing about One Piece recently that's like really caught my and everybody else's eyes aren't just the insane feats that Loki and the others have displayed. For example, Loki, by the time he was a baby, being sent all the way down from the second realm down to the realm of the dead, surviving the crash, which I think was over, 10,000 feet? And not only killing multiple beasts, but also climbing his way back up the tree in order to reach his mother. This is one of those situations where, like, if you compare anybody who was a previous Yonko, like Kaido or Big Mom killing a bear with a single hit, or slamming down a giant and killing them through hemorrhaging a couple of minutes after she slammed them down, this feat of a child, in this case Loki, being able to climb his way back up is not only on the same level as child Big Mom or even Kaido, but more impressive because he was a newborn. He was a fucking newborn. Now, moving on to later points, it honestly, from the narrative from there on onward, were actually very interesting in my opinion, because it's not just a conversation about Harold and his wife, or, what's-her-face, this giant that is the mother of Hajrudin. It's not so much the conversation of them. I do think that it's interesting to see, like, the small bits of character development that Harold went through, as he went from a giant that didn't give a single damn about anyone else and actually slammed and even crushed his own crew members, specifically because he had the power to do so. Which I will be talking about Harold later, especially since, you know, he is Loki's father, and as an ancient giant, he should also have insane physical characteristics, since he's even able to bully other giants. It's not just something like that, but it's more so the fact that, like, once we see Loki growing up as a kid, and we see that, like, even when people are trying to show him love, he can't even go out of his way in hopes to kill himself in the same way that Kaido did. Though he has taken more damage than someone like Kaido did by this point, I do want to say that this is about a similar enough distance to what Kaido felt as an adult, and Loki as a child is surviving heights similar to what Kaido was able to survive. Albeit sure with damage, though granted you have to consider that Kaido does have a devil fruit that does massively increase his own durability to the point where he doesn't take conventional damage. Now, sorry about that. Now, some people have gone out of the way to mention that, like, someone like Roxy Zebek should have a devil fruit like Buggy's or Law's devil fruit, because he walked up to this kid and had his mountain slash before, and he had his fingers in a position where he seemed like he cut them. No, that's not the case. He was just asking him 2 questions. This is by far one of the biggest reveals in all of One Piece history. I was kind of disappointed by the reason we were giving for starting. We haven't been given the actual reason for starting the God Valley incident yet. It's a very One Piece thing to do, which we'll be getting into in case we talk about it. But in the event that it just so happens to be the case, I don't want to just write everything off now. Only because I don't want to write things off now just because One Piece is a series where, like, it does subvert your expectations a lot of the times. And a lot of people are sitting here saying, and I already see it in the comments where some of you are saying, that it's Goon Piece, but we'll get to that in just a moment. Okay. Roxy Zebek is the most notorious pirate in One Piece history, to the point where his name has been removed from the bowels of history. What he's done so far to gain himself such a massive notoriety, so far at least, hasn't made me believe that he should have his name deleted from history, right? Or at least maybe besides one specific thing so far, but we still have the God Valley incident, and we still have a couple more things that we need to go through before we get to that point. The biggest thing here, at least as of the last chapter that we should be talking about, is actually this. Father of Blackbeard. I know that a lot of people have separated this image to also talk about how Buggy could be Blackbeard's little brother. It could be the case. I'm not gonna write anything off right now. He does very much look like Buggy, but it's not something that I very much care about, since it's whatever to me if he's Buggy's kid. Although it would make every single final member going after the One Piece a D tribe member, which is also pretty damn interesting, since Buggy right now would be the only non-D clan member going after the One Piece. Or at least of the 4 Emperors of the Sea. Rox's attacks were famous for blasting everything in sight, like a gigantic hammer or a cannonball. It's a very interesting statement, because I feel like when people consider what a cannonball is like, when people consider what, how do I put it? When people consider what a cannonball is like, they usually think that, like, cannon fire is only, like, wall level, building level, and they would probably use that to, like, downplay someone like Roxy Zebek, but they're not really taking into consideration that a cannonball, at least in this case, within the context of the One Piece verse, is essentially one of the many things that they use to essentially wipe out islands. In this case, if we're using it in context with a cannonball, not a cannonball, in case of like, if you're using it within the context of like, let's say the Buster Calls. I'm recently going to make a video. Oh yeah, no, Shanks also isn't a D-Clan member. You are right about that. So Buggy and Shanks are actually two members that aren't D-Clan members. Let me take that back. But he is the child of Destiny, so fuck if I know, he might be just as important as a D-Clan member. I don't fucking know yet. I think it's important to actually talk about this, specifically because, Rox is an absolute fucking animal, and not just any kind of animal. He's someone that was able to enter and not only infiltrate, but enter the flower room within the capital of Mary Joie. The thing that, like, legitimately, like, threw me off completely about his introduction is that before he even had a crew, before he even had what you would call a first mate, though granted you could, no, I could definitely say a first mate, and this is technically a flashback within a flashback at the Reverie 1 year. Yes, it's technically a flashback within a flashback, and this would happen before he meets, the other, since he's walking up to meet Harold right afterwards. This event actually happens before he meets Harold. Yeah, no, this motherfucker legitimately got a chance to talk to Emu. He knows about Emu, he got a chance to talk to him, he said he would be back, and then not only that, he escaped with his life. Some people went out of his way to mention, let me see. This madman had crossed Harold's path at the Reverie 1 year, which means it had to be prior to this moment. 5 kings had been captured, attacked and captured. It's an abduction. They were taken by a large man dressed in black. The lives of kings are no threat to Emu, I suppose not, but your holy land is in panic. In a historical anomaly never repeated before or since, someone infiltrated the Chamber of Flowers at the very core of the Holy Land. This man described himself as a worshipper of Davy Jones. He did not do anything more than this, as he knew he could not, but before he departed, he left a warning: I will be back right here. Naturally, word of this incident never saw light of day, but as it happened, one other man infiltrated the Holy Land at the same time. Fine, the talks are off. I apologize for trespassing, but is this really necessary? Don't let the king's abductor get away. So they threw all the blame on what's-his-face Harold. The Admiral's been defeated! Huff, huff. His attacker went to the palace, be wary. Yeah, no, Rox took down a fucking Admiral, dude. He was a man who not only took down an Admiral, he fucking killed an Admiral, though granted, I do think from the way that they described the incident, I do think that they mentioned... I'll bring that later. What's all the hubbub? Bring me the big one. He must be the one who kidnapped the kings. I'm not going to be the fall for this guy. I'll seize him and a giant in the Holy Land. Is this guy lost or something? They not only clash, the clash between strangers. Actually, yo, let me fix these because these chapters are kind of fucked, dude. Yeah, let's fix this the right way. Because it eradicated anything and others for 5 kilometers around. Dude, a clash between Harold and fucking, Rox D. Zebic eradicated everything for 5 fucking kilometers, bro. Obviously, besides the fucking castle, this shit is kind of crazy. That's one of the biggest fucking explosions, at least canonical explosions, of just raw damage that we've seen in a hot minute. And granted, this is a clash that I don't think has advanced conquerors. Actually, you can probably argue that it does have conquerors, but it at least is a hockey-based clash since it's coming from what's-his-face. This shit is crazy. Name yourself. I am Harold. I'm Rox. Aim at the town with the next blow. If they capture us, they'll turn us into slaves. What, why? Don't think, just do it. And then they sent a clash so powerful that allowed them to fucking escape. Which way is Elbath? The New World's that way. If you survive, let's meet again. Blah, 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 blah. The Navy admiral that Rox had struck down perished of his wounds despite emergency measures. So, Rox didn't necessarily kill him on the spot. They were trying to keep him alive, likely after he had either escaped before or after. I don't know if the wounds that he received were actually from the Admiral, or if they were from Emu himself, since he did show some signs of damage rate, I think here and here, when they made the strike, but it doesn't really matter when or where they did it. The point is, What about Indra's arrow and Kurama and the double Kurama Rasen? Sure, I have no big how that strike is. It's not stated anywhere, and I don't go by pixel calcs because all that shit is headcanon. At least to me. Toneri easily splits the moon, moved it, and was going to hurl it towards Earth. Rox and Harold clashed once. That's enough for Rox to consider him a friend. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, she also looks like Gunko, which is kind of crazy. Hey, what's good, Demi? Thank you, man. Sometime later, he attacked ship laden with heavenly tributes en route to the sacred Mary Joie. Not only that, he destroyed the gate of justice and fled once again. With this, I think Rox's powers also established that there have been some character pirates who can challenge Imu, so when Luffy defeats them, it doesn't feel like an ass-pull. That's true. Granted, we don't know what the circumstances between Rox and Imu have been yet, because we don't know if the damage that Rox took was from escaping Imu or from his fight against the Admiral, which is kind of what, again, has me like in this weird spot. Did Imu try to stop him himself, or did Rox just simply takes a bit of damage from an Admiral? Either way, it's extremely impressive. Granted, we don't know who the Emerald was, we don't know how powerful they were, so it's still up in the air. Yeah, they definitely acts like an evil Luffy. Many of the things that Rox did from performing Davy back fights to get his crew members, getting Whitebeard, punching, it all shows that Rox is the type of guy that is willing to get his own hands dirty rather than let somebody else do it, unlike Blackbeard, which is kind of interesting because Blackbeard for a good long time has been a character that allows others to get their hands dirty for him. It's actually very antithetical to the methods that Rox went by in order to gain the level of power that he was going by, right? And this entire time he was actually trying to make Harold join him, which means that he definitely respects Harold's power enough that he sees him as someone who can increase the raw power of his crew, not just him, but also of the entire giant fleet. Could be Imu just didn't bother to attack him, but again, we just don't know. That's what I'm saying. We just don't know. It really just depends on what you want to believe in right now. I would actually be more partial to Rox escaping Imu with low damage. All things considered, that would also really downplay the idea of the Admiral, but that would also create like a massive disparity between Admirals and someone who could be, let's say, Pirate King level, quote unquote. Yeah, no. All of these chapters to me have seen extremely... Oda has been dropping... Oda, at least up to this point, has been dropping so many big reveals. Hey, what's good, Christopher? Hope you've been doing well. Oda's been dropping so many massive reveals, especially for One Piece lately, that I'm having a hard time to really, like, grasp everything that we're seeing. Somebody that people have been bringing up is the idea of, like, God Valley, which I don't think it's necessarily gonna pop up yet, only because I feel like something like God Valley is a flashback in of itself that could be more broadened when we see later portions. Because the thing about this flashback, that it doesn't necessarily just have to be Rox's life from the moment that he becomes a big name pirate to death. I actually do think that you can have the beginning of Rox's reign and why Loki looks up to this guy. Specifically because this flashback is more important for Loki and the others than it is for Rox himself. Rox can have the beginning of his own flashback. Hear me out on this. Rox can have Rox. Oh man, come on. All right, that's such bullshit. I'm gonna have to delete that. Downloads. Yeah, no, this has to be deleted. It's not a full image, which I fucking hate, man. Can we... One second, guys. Control Shift... No, it's this. I'm gonna screenshot this because I do want this as a, Actually... Let me delete that. I need to get this better. I need to make this way better. No, I need to delete this. I'll delete this later. I need to get this, like, perfectly aligned. Is there any way for me to zoom out the page just a tad bit? Ooh, no. I want to zoom out the page just a tad bit so that way I can get, like, the... Okay, there we go. I want this entire thing. Oh no. 1 second, guys. My apologies. Yeah, I want a screenshot of this. I really like this. Yeah, we'll do it like this, and then I'll fix the page. Son of a bitch! I got the dimensions wrong. Yeah, I got the dimensions wrong. Ah, come on. Do that one more time. Oh wait, I could just do print screen. That also works. Yeah, yeah. I already have a whole button for this on my keyboard. Okay, there we go. Let's fix this page up real quick. Okay, there we go. The whole reveal for Gloriosa is also kind of like a feels bad things for me. Mostly just because, like, damn, does Gloriosa look fucking great, and also Shaki is, damn, yeah. I'm just gonna put it like this, right? Rogers and all the other pirates essentially simping for Shaki and everybody else is one of the funniest things for me, because it just goes to show that, like, these legendary figures, these legendary characters are human just like all of the other One Piece characters, man. It really just shows that, like, they're still human. They could be living legends, they could be dead legends, legends of the past. It doesn't matter. They still feel like grounded characters in many different ways. Even if you think, like, oh, it's kind of fucked because it's they're gooning or whatever. Also, I think it's a bit of an underrated shot right here to see Rogers wearing the straw hat, man. Also seeing Vice Admiral Garp and Rogers being able to clash with one another. Rogers taking a punch to the face, but Garp literally getting slashed by literally getting slashed by his blade is absolutely insane. By the way, if you think that they both are copy and paste, you're out of your fucking mind, man. The skirt, the faces, the eyes, nah, it's all different, man. It's all different. I don't believe it. Anyway. Which is also kind of funny because it kind of goes to show that, like, Luffy really is, like, the perfect kid. Like, the perfect, like, child, since unlike Roger, who's willing to, like, lose himself to, like, his earthly desires to, like, women, is someone like Luffy wouldn't. Which actually makes Luffy a bit more of a Chad, in my opinion, but that's neither here nor there. See you later, Six. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your birthday. Also, this guy, Mobster Kyo, Silver Axe, who the fuck is this guy? I don't know who the fuck he is. Cool, I guess. But one of the things that I actually did want to bring up, to sum it all, there's 2 devil fruits out there that I want. One of them most likely found in Elbaf, and its power will only truly be unlocked if Harold eats it. I've been trying to think about, like, what the other devil fruit could be, not the one that he's gonna eat, more so the one that he's going to, Garp was giving Roger work, and Oda said Prime Garp is closer to Old Garp, which upscales Kuzan and Akainu. So when did he say that Prime Garp is scales to Old Garp? Because Old Garp quite literally says he could have done better when he nuked the entirety of a good portion of Hachinosu. I'm actually thinking to myself that it's probably not the Ope Ope no Mi, but it could be something else. There's a good argument that it could be the Op fruit, because it could make the argument that he needs the devil fruit to be able to switch maybe bodies with Imu, but I don't think that's necessarily the case. Sigma Grind said Luffy, that's what I'm saying. He couldn't, you know him, that's Smoker's dad. Probably? I don't know, man. Also, the fact that he's sunning someone like Kaido, which at this point obviously isn't at this point he isn't at his prime, but it's still pretty interesting to see, especially with, like, this massive panel, him showing, like, the Rocks pirates, man. I don't know. Getting closer to, like, the more recent chapters, seeing Whitebeard casually perform a feat where he's literally turning the islands on their axes is absolutely insane in my opinions. I'll see you later, Aster. Hope you have a good one, man. Just a lot of stuff that's being dropped here for all these characters, from Newgate to Shiki, Big Mom, fucking Rocks. I don't know, man. I've been wanting to. I was thinking about maybe making some content regarding these characters, but all of the stuff that I've been seeing between King of Lightning, Mr. Morge, I feel like they can better put the things that I've been wanting to say into action, and I have been agreeing, especially with a lot of things that they, especially with Mr. Morge in terms of, like, his narrative scaling. So getting to like this final point right here that people have been like sort of clamoring about, specifically when it comes to like the idea of well, for one, Rocksteady Zebek losing himself and everybody else losing themselves because Shaki joined. One of the things that people have been talking about is essentially just that, like, hey, Shaki is considered to be like the jewel of Fulolad Island, Hachinosu. Therefore, the Marines took something from them, their treasure. Therefore, all of God Valley started because the Marines had taken Shaki. Listen, man, I don't fucking know. I don't know how the Marines could have gotten to Fulolad Island, maybe while Rox was away, and have taken Shaki with them all the way to Mary Joie. For whatever fucking reason, sure, I guess, they did take something. But here's the thing, and I'm gonna be honest with you guys, if God Valley started over because they took Shaki, I don't really care. That's fine by me. That seems like a total One Piece thing to happen. I think it's completely... Katakuri would absolutely curb stomp every version of Pain. There is no version of Pain that beats Katakuri. And for one word only, Future Sight. Nothing that Pain could do would ever catch him off guard. He has Conqueror's Haki for all the fucking beasts. Even if he didn't, Luffy could take down a Kraken that was over 10 times bigger than any giant beast in Naruto since Gamabunta, who's bigger than most of the summonings. Gamabunta, who's bigger than most of the summonings and about the size of a tailed beast, is only 17 meters tall. Gamabunta Naruto height. Yeah, he's 17 meters tall. Like, he's like 55 feet tall. He's really not that fucking big. He is putting down all of his creatures, all of like the summonings. Pretty sure God Valley started because the Celestial Dragon stole some devil fruits from the pirates. I don't think, no, they never stated what the treasure. They said they stated that they stole treasure, not devil fruits. And the reason why people are going into the whole like Shaki thing is because Shaki is eventually going to be. I think like they started calling Shaki like the jewel or like or this irreplaceable treasure for Pirate Island. I don't know, man. I'm not inherent. Can't really escape the range of Almighty Push. How does Almighty Push hurt him? He's Mochi. How does it hurt him, though? Like, it doesn't matter. He also... What do you mean he also can't escape the range of Almighty Push? He's faster than the speed of light. He was able to escape a omnidirectional attack from Luffy that was coming in from all ranges, and he's going to know when Almighty Push happens before it does. There's nothing about Pain that would ever remotely make me consider it. You're trying to give me a 20 summary of what we're doing right now? I can give you a 20-second summary. We went over some videos. We're going over the latest One Piece chapters, my thoughts on them, just all the reveals that Oda's been dropping. I'm going to talk about Bleach, because I have a lot to say about Bleach, though I could probably talk about it on a later stream, since I'm actually reaching my cutoff point. So it's honestly been... I'm actually going to talk about Bleach on a different day, on a different stream, guys, because I do have a lot I need to talk about, and I do actually have to start downloading the images. I got both at FTL. There's no way you can realistically get Pain to FTL. It is impossible to get Pain to FTL within the context of the story. Nothing about Kakashi, Naruto, any character prior to the Raikage, besides Haku, there is nothing about any of these characters that even remotely imply they are Lightspeed, besides some data book entries that also get completely contradicted by other data book statements within the story. Yeah, no, it's not possible. In your Bleach reread, what do you think the strongest One Punch characters can get to? Currently, let me reopen the page I just closed. Currently, the Yonko unironically solo every single character I've seen so far in the Soul Society. I have no fucking reason to believe any of these guys can beat a Yonko from anything that I've seen. Ichigo tearing apart a fucking piece of ground. Renji is so fucking... You know what? I might actually just go on this fucking rant right now, man. I really might just go on this fucking rant. Bro, there are no stakes in Bleach. There are no fucking stakes whatsoever. Every time I read a fucking fight, fucking Renji gets one shot, Kenpachi gets one shot, the fucking Arrancar that pulled up, they're stated to be fucking stronger than a goddamn captain, even though Arrancar are supposed to be stronger than fucking Vastolordi or whatever, but I guess there's only a couple of Vastolordi, but that would mean that fucking Halle Bell is supposed to be stronger in her Vastolordi form than every single fucking captain. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. There's so many fucking contradictions. You want to hear the biggest contradiction? I'm going to hit you with some shit right now. As a matter of fact, I got you right fucking now. 211, it was like 210 because the Here, I got you right fucking now. This fucking short ass bitch right here is the biggest contradiction I have ever seen in all of Bleach. And I swear to God, Kubo cannot write for shit. And if he can, and if you think he can write with whatever bullshit, whatever the fuck, if you think that, like, first of all, Kubo does not foreshadow at all. He's great at giving callbacks. He does not foreshadow at all. None of this has ever remotely been foreshadowed. But the thing that pisses me off right here is this. How the fuck does Rukia Kuchiki get slammed away by a Day 1 Hollow, is stated to regain her powers, then isn't stated anywhere even remotely implied to have gotten any stronger, and then beats an Arrancar that is at the very least 3 to 2 evolutionary states above fucking Day 1 Hollows? How? How does this bitch lose to a Day 1 Hollow, gets absolutely curb stomped by it, but then is one-shotting an Arrancar? How does that make any... She's out here shitting herself over a foot soldier Gillian. She is out here Gillian Menos Grande. Also, it sounds like I'm out here giving a goddamn Starbucks fucking coffee order. How the fuck is she out here shitting herself over a Gillian-ass class Menos Grande, but gets absolutely one-shots a motherfucking Arrancar with a goddamn Gentei Kaijo seal? There is no consistency from the very fucking start. I'm sorry. Yeah, so yes, I'm not... Rohan, listen, you're not going to convince me with the whole Haku bullshit. It's not consistent with the rest of the story. I can agree that Haku is... I can consider that Haku can... I can completely agree with Haku being able to move with light speed between his mirrors, but he was not going all out against Naruto and Sasuke. Anyway, that aside. Sorry about the rant. I'm sorry. No, Bleach is not consistent in the slightest bit. Kubo's writing a fucking power fantasy. Ichigo really just shows me a lot of the times that, like, it's not even so much like a thing on, like, Kubo, but just more of a thing of, like, I'm just sitting here really thinking to myself, where is the consistency? Where am I supposed to sit? By the way, Kurotsuchi, the fact that the Soul Society allows him to, like, get away with these things, where he just blows up his own men by implanting them with, like, bombs and shit, that is just so fucking foul to me, in my opinion. Uryu losing his Shinigami powers, sorry, not his Shinigami powers, his Quincy powers. Here's my opinion. Endgame Meliodas wipes Bleach. That's a crazy ass fucking... probably, I don't know, man. I haven't gone there yet. I don't know where I would scale them yet. Uryu being capable of, like, losing his powers but then getting them back, like, an arc later is about as bad as Ichigo losing his powers and then getting them back in an arc later, man. It just doesn't make any fucking sense to me. What is the point of having your characters being written to lose their powers and then if you're just going to write them back in the very next arc? It's just bad writing, in my opinion. I'm sorry. If you think that I'm being a little bit harsh or whatever, if you really like the series, I'm not telling you to dislike Bleach. I'm not telling you to go take a shit in Kubo's coffee. All I'm really saying is that, like, there's a level of inconsistency here that, like, when I've read something like One Piece, even when I've reread something like Naruto, and yeah, I do have my issues with Naruto for the most part, especially with, like, the later portions of the story, but when I get to, like, points like this, I'm just like, bruh, this is just not that well written, in my opinion. I'm sorry. When the fuck does Ichigo fight Renji? When the fuck does Ichigo fight... Oh, no, this is way farther. Like, I gotta get, like, way farther than this. Like, when he fights, what's-his-face, Ikaku Madarame, he one-shots Ikaku Madarame. I'm just sitting... By the way, this... Where the fuck is it? In the anime, there's a feat that people brought up here that makes Uryu lightspeed because he blitzed his own shadow or some bullshit. One of my mods actually sent me... Oh yeah, this right here. I don't think that this is his shadow. I do think that this is just like a speed thing. Anyway, speed lines. Because when you see the actual, like, anime adaptation, the shadow's gone at the same time he's gone. He's not blitzing light. Admirals versus Naruto. Yeah, no, Naruto gets absolutely curb stomped by the Admirals. But that's for later. He really doesn't have a way of hurting them. when Ichigo fights Renji and when he fights Ikaku Madarame, what really fucking pisses me off about all of this is that, like, okay, let's just look at this for a second. Ichigo is out here slightly overpowering Renji. Renji pushes him back, unleashes Zabimaru, pushes him all the way around. Ichigo's bleeding. Cool, whatever. Fine, he's bleeding. That's not an issue. Renji is the one that's being on the attack, on the offense the entire time. He's throwing Ichigo back. Ichigo's bleeding out more than fucking Renji. Renji's dodging him, puts Ichigo down, slashes right through to him. Renji is standing above Ichigo, calling him out to be too slow. And then Ichigo, out of nowhere, he just locks in and he one-shots Renji. This is what I've been seeing for so many of these fights. Not just Renji, with Kenpachi, with the other Arankars, with everything that I have seen, Ichigo or any of the other characters always win off of a one-shot. It just removes so many stakes from so many of these fights. It's Lightspeed pre-time skip before time skip? No, the hell he's not. He is definitely not. You can believe it. Wonderbuds, you can believe it. How is he not Lightspeed? Because he's slower than a guy like Lee, who is slower than a supersonic attack from the fucking Sound Ninja. The Biju bombs are mountain level. They destroy mountains. I'm willing to hear people say, and sure, if you want to say that like Sukuna's like large city level, even like by upscaling like domain expansions, which only have a range of like of like 200 meters, sure, whatever. A tailed beast bomb is only mountain level. When the fuck has a tailed beast bomb blown anything high? A single tailed beast bomb blown anything from any tailed beast, blown up anything or done any more damage than just blowing up a mountain? I haven't seen anything like that. The giant explosion was caused by a total of like 5 tailed beast bombs plus a tailed beast bomb that's as powerful as 5 of them. Like without Haku, unless you find no natural weakness, you can't do anything to them. Yeah. Pre-time skip before, bro. Just pre-time skip. The argument has more holes in it than a firing squad. I'm sorry, but like Bleach just has no stakes to it. Every time one of these characters is in a position where they are getting absolutely thrashed, yes, thrashed by their opponent, these guys just get up out of nowhere and just say, all right, time for me to lock in, and then they just win. And I'm sorry, but I just don't like that. I don't like this idea that these characters can just win out of nowhere simply because, read what I just said. Even if the Biju bombs are mountain level, that doesn't mean Naruto is tanking a constant level attack with Juroneck. Yeah, I agree with that. Oda states in an SBS, Olga Garp somewhat on par with his prime self, nor equal or somewhat on par with his prime self. And Kuzan was winning his fight against, I don't know about winning, because Garp was mostly put down by taking damage that he didn't need to take, specifically from the fact that he was also fighting specifically from the fact that he also took a serious stab, well, not a serious, but a serious enough stab wound from, what's his face? And talking about him being mentally nerfed, I have no reason to believe that. I have no reason to believe that the whole mental nerf thing lowered down his capability to fight to such an extent that he was literally fighting at a 5th or a 10th or whatever of his power. Also, that statement from the SBS, can you give me the actual statement? Can you give me the actual like SBS number from it so I can read it? Because if that statement was made anywhere before like the last 3 or 4 years when the Garp moment where he's saying he's getting rusty, where he's like not at his full power, unless you can give me something like that, where you scale, I have no idea, because there's no like destructive capacity feat that I can at least get it to a bare minimum. All of these guys get somewhere between like, I guess like maybe, I have no idea, man. I have no idea. They were wall level before. Ichigo destroys a good portion of the ground with his Getsuga Tensho, and I guess you could say he's unquantifiably more powerful from there on out by the time he fights Byakuya. He's like quite literally unquantifiably more powerful. The whole 10 million Zanpakuto with the Sogyoku doesn't kind of mean anything to me, because these aren't like Zanpakuto like Shikai or even Bankai. It just sounds like has the power of a 1 million Asauchi. So whatever you think 1 million normal swords, the damage of like 1 million normal swords equates to, sure, I guess whatever the fuck that means. Also, if I'm gonna have people constantly come into my chat and constantly come into my comments and tell me, hey man, Kizaru's light, is it Kizaru or all these other guys are only light speed because of Kizaru, or a A Pacifista beam isn't light speed because it isn't directly stated to be a light speed, even though it's stated to be a replica of Kizaru's abilities, or it's slated to be a literal beam of light. I'm not going to consider a Menos Grande beam of light, a spiritual light beam, being light speed as well. I have no reason to believe that unless it's stated to be verbatim the speed of light. Naruto's MFTL. How is Naruto MFTL? When he started light speed, he started his light speed meta at the start. Yes, at the start of the war arc. How is he MFTL? Do you understand that people don't got... I'm not gonna say they don't got a brain like that. I feel like there is definitely a... People want their favorite verses or the verses that they like the most to be strong, and that is completely fine. I don't have an issue with people considering certain verses to want to be powerful. But for example, like Yami and Ulquiorra, right? How the fuck is Yami the strongest Espada? Like, honestly, how the fuck is he the strongest? I guess he's like Espada number 10 or whatever. He's like the weakest. Well, he's like in this state, but the strongest when like he gets angrier or whatever. But like the idea that like they're ripping out these souls from like regular schmegular people that can't even like sense like regular hollows. But then Ichigo's friend, the girl who is at best a very good martial artist by normal human standards. She is a very, very good martial artist and has simply dealt with hollows before. So maybe you could say because she's dealt with hollows before, her soul is slightly stronger. She didn't get her soul ripped apart by Yami. So why would I believe that one of these guys would rip apart the soul from one of these more powerful characters like Luffy or all these other guys that are multi-continental when he couldn't even rip the soul out of a girl like this? I'm sorry. Like, there are so many things about this series, like Chad, for example. Chad sucks. I'm sorry. Chad is fucking dog shit. I have yet to see this guy do anything that is even remotely impressive to any character not named... Actually, not named anything. He hasn't done anything even remotely impressive. He's beaten a hollow. No, Eon. I had to explain to this Kizaru isn't light speed because of his light, and the light fruit makes his base speed become light. I agree with that. I agree with that 100%. People really don't seem to understand that you can improve the capabilities of your devil fruits, and the fact that characters without the ability to, without any light speed ability from the base abilities that their devil fruits grant, like, I don't know, Luffy, Akainu, Aokiji, Chopper, characters who have the ability to move at the speed of light, dodge beams of light, move at FTL speeds, are capable of moving at these speeds. Yet Kizaru, the guy who ate a fruit that turned him into actual light, like, I don't know, man. Ichigo being planetary and all these things, I haven't gotten to any of these points yet. I haven't gotten to like any massive explosions. I haven't gotten to anything crazy that I could like maybe give you a scale of. But the thing about Bleach is that it doesn't give you any statements to really work off of. It really does not give you that many statements to work off of in terms of like how powerful these characters are. It says that like this guy is weak enough to be defeated by a lieutenant or a regular Shinigami, but then a regular Shinigami is only as strong as like I don't know, regular Shinigamis get smoked by hollows. I'm supposed to believe that like a lieutenant, someone like Rukia, who is also, mind you, once again, Rukia, who is has the strength of a lieutenant. She is as strong as a lieutenant, has the skills of a lieutenant, still lost to a day one hollow, and yet like a captain class Shinigami is supposed to be like 10 times stronger than that or whatever, man. I don't fucking know, dude. Please see the panel when he was hit by the sound, not the speed. He was hit by the sound, not the speed. Yeah, no, he was hit by a sound-based attack. I'm aware of that. What's the argument? He couldn't evade the attack? Okay, sure. But then Sasuke's out here getting blitzed by Lee, who's not as fast as Haku. The listen, the Naruto early lightspeed meta does not make any fucking sense. Check out the last panel. He was hurt by a sound. He's dodged the attack. He's hurt by the sound. By the sound hurt his ears and started bleeding. Lee blitzed them all before that. Please check out the panel. I could check out the panel all you want. He wasn't fast enough to use his primary Lotus when unlocking the... I can check out the panel. I can also show you the panel where his primary Lotus, one of his faster attacks, couldn't even outspeed a supersonic attack that was about to hit the ground. I can show you... I can see one panel. I know the panel you're talking about. I can show you a panel where Lee, using the primary Lotus, isn't as fast as an attack that's hitting the ground. That's gonna hit the opponent down at the ground with the whatchamacallit, with the primary Lotus, bro. Like, it doesn't, like, listen, the Naruto lightspeed meta, early lightspeed meta does not make any sense. As a matter of fact, I'll even show you a different panel. I'll show you this panel right here. Lee is already coming down. Lee is already coming down. This guy makes the hand signs, and he hit the ground from this distance with a sound-based attack to turn the ground into soil, and he made it in time before the primary Lotus. Yeah, no, I'm supposed to believe that they're light speed? Fuck no. Fuck no, I don't believe that they're light speed. You have no way of convincing me that they're light speed. Why? Because Sasuke pushed Naruto out of the way from an attack from Haku, and yet in every other instant, especially the one moment where Naruto grabs Haku right out of his ice mirrors, which again, he needs to move between, Haku, did not travel down at another mirror. No, he traveled down, is as strong as a Vasto Lorde. Chad is not as strong as a Vasto Lorde, because a Vasto Lorde is stated to be stronger than a captain, and yet these Arrancars, who are apparently supposed to be stronger than Vasto Lordes, because they're evolved past the point of a Vasto Lorde. What the fuck? No, like, this doesn't make any fucking sense to me. Oh, they were Gillians? But they couldn't be Gillians because they couldn't have evolved straight from a Gillian. For a Gillian to become an Adhucha, which seems to be the version of where all the Hollows seem to, for at least some of the other Arrancar seem to have, sorry, not the Espada, seem to have evolved from. You'd have to be at least an Adhucha. Like, this shit does not make any, how is this disingenuous? So the attack is sound speed. Yeah. At the very least, the speed of sound. No, Haku can move at the speed of light. He was not trying against Naruto and Sasuke. I can show you all the panels where he says, I do not want to kill you people. I do not want to go all out. I don't know, man. I don't know. Bleach is getting me Bleach is really pissing me off, bruh. Bleach is really, really pissing me off. All of these guys are getting absolutely thrashed by these fucking, Shinigami. Mind you, Toshiro Hitsugaya, who is a fucking captain and should be way stronger than Rukia Kuchiki, is out here performing worse than her, bro. And you could probably say the guy he's fighting is stronger, which sure, but is the difference so fucking massive? Is the difference so fucking massive that the guy could literally push Toshiro Hitsugaya to go into his Bankai? I don't know, man. I don't know. Bleach has a lot of style. No, Bleach is all style, no substance to me. To me, Bleach is... No, the panels go extremely hard, by the way. The art style is sick. I will never deny that. But Bleach is all style, no substance. I'm sorry. I'm telling you, take a break from Power Scale Beyblade Metal series. It's a fun time, I promise. Some of their bays are universal. I don't know, man. I saw the Beyblade Metal series. I saw Metal Fusion, Metal Masters. I saw all that stuff. I can't sit through the whole Blader Spirit thing. If I would ever scale Beyblade, I'm starting off with the original series. I cannot do that metal shit, bro. The Blader Spirit stuff it tries so hard to go into like the whole heart of the card shtick that it legitimately grosses me out in a sense. Also, Kenpachi Zaraki. Why? Okay. I'm sorry. Why does listen? I understand. What does the title does Kenpachi mean? What does Kenpachi mean? The Kenpachi title, let me see. According to Kenpachi, is the title given only to the strongest Shinigami. According to Hanataro Yamada, the name Kenpachi signifies one who loves to fight, who has slain more than any other Shinigami, and the one who will never fall no matter how many times he is cut. It is an Iron Clan rule that there can only be one Kenpachi per generation, meaning that the predecessor must die. For the killer to succeed the title, to inherit this title, the candidate must kill the current Kenpachi in a battle. How can Kenpachi Zaraki gain the title of Kenpachi, but then for there to be other Kenpachis after Unohana, even though Kenpachi defeated Unohana? So what the fuck is this? Because Pegasus literally is fueled by positive emotions like friendship. Everyone else is just like that. I'm sorry. It's just too cringe to me, man. I would probably be willing to give it a look back. I'd probably have to watch it in sub just so I don't have to listen to the power of the Blader Spirit. I will probably throw something out of my window if I do. I don't know, man. Like, Kenpachi, how the fuck is Kenpachi Zaraki supposed to be the strongest Soul Reaper, but he's losing to Shikai Ichigo, who has to train in order to not only master Getsu Gatensho, but in order to also Master Bankai, which is a 10 times amp, in order to fight Byakuya motherfucking Kuchiki, bro. Like, some of this shit just doesn't make any sense. How is Kenpachi then the strongest? Oh, but Eon, it's very simple. Kenpachi's the strongest because he's simply nerfing himself mentally. But if he's nerfing himself mentally and he's not the strongest, then shouldn't Byakuya or Captain Yamamoto be the fucking Kenpachi? What the fuck, man? Those are pretty good. You should try out for shonen protagonist. Oh, I appreciate that. Like, it just doesn't make sense, man. It just doesn't make sense. I'm sorry. It just all feels like it's constantly contradicting itself, man. Like, I'm sorry. It really just does feel like it's constantly contradicting all of these different fucking things, man. I don't know. Like, I get the whole thing with like Aizen. One of my mods, actually two of my mods, Six, and I think it was Bob. I think it was Six, Bob, but I know for a fact it was Stein, or was it Lapis? I don't remember. They were talking about how like it's pretty consistent that like Aizen should be universal because Aizen was like, this right here to me is building level. Sure, these guys can be building level. They're all supposed to have like Zanpakuto that have the capacity to be like the size of buildings. That's all fine. But if this is supposed to be, he's supposed to be at least stronger than all of the other Soul Reapers, how in the figgity fuck did Ichigo lose to him, but basically have to get a Bankai and a Holification to overpower Byakuya? Man, it just doesn't make sense, man. It just doesn't make sense. I don't know. It's not that they never clean hit Haku, even with a lure like Naruto. He has to quite literally grab Haku when he's outside of the ice mirror and jumping back into another mirror. He has to grab him. Yeah, but Haku is not light speed outside of the mirrors. This is just whoever has the most ego and aura. I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm supposed to like this series, but like I said, there's no substance here, man. There just really isn't. There just really isn't. Chad is out here begging for help to become stronger because the one time he pulls up to finally be able to shoot like 5 or 6 El Directos, he's like just running out of power. This is a really cool panel. Like, listen, I will say this, and I've always said this, and I will always repeat myself. Kubo can draw a fit. Kubo can draw a character. The characters look sick, but come on. Am I really supposed to believe, like, okay, sure, this is like city level. I can 100% give this like city level from like a destructive range capacity, and if you need at the very least, a certain amount of AP to reach a certain level of destructive capacity, I'm very much willing to give that. I will always grant that. At the very least, this guy is like city block to like small city level, whatever, that's all fine. But how the fuck am I getting all these characters to like Universal Plus or whatever? Like, how the fuck am I doing that? Because it really doesn't seem like they're getting that much stronger from arc to arc. It really just doesn't seem like that. No, Haku is light speed when going between the, I'm not pulling up the panel. When going between the mirrors, guy. And also, Renji fucking sucks. I have yet to see this guy win a fight, like, wholeheartedly. This guy is losing, is in Bankai. He is, like, is Renji's base just trash? Is Renji's base just fucking trash? Because this guy hasn't even transformed yet. Ikkaku Madarame seems like, it at least feels like to me, like Ikkaku Madarame base to base would absolutely thrash Renji. If Ikkaku were to fight Renji without releasing his Gente Kaijo, if he was able to beat this guy with Bankai without releasing it, then I'm out here believing that fucking Renji is fighting for his fucking life. Because this dude right here didn't even activate Resurrection, and he's already pushing Renji past Bankai. These guys are fucking dog shit. I'm sorry. Toshiro Hitsugaya, he's a captain. He's a fucking captain, bro. I'm supposed to believe this guy is not getting absolutely dry. Oh, but Keon, they're just being sealed back by this power, bro. Like, okay. And yet they had to release this fucking seal to do it all, bro. I don't know, man. Must wear the restriction up to 80%. Yeah, no. So you're telling me that You had to just become 5 times stronger than you're currently at to one-shot these dudes? I don't know, man. It feels like this is more than just 5 times, because the way that these guys were getting thrashed, it feels like the difference is way more than just 5 times. The card states the Prime Garp is close to the strength of Old Garp. And when did the Vivre card come out? I've mentioned this before. When did the Vivre card come out? What year did it come out? Because I've mentioned this before. If a data book entry, like, for example, if a data book entry, like a early Naruto data book, or if a data book entry like an early data book for Naruto, or an early Vivre card for Garp, if those things come out, let's say 5, 6, 7 years ago, prior to current manga statements, I am going to consider prime current manga statements. Yeah, please do. It's pretty recent. All right, if it's pretty recent, let me see it. What's the year though? Because if it came out before Oda made the statement, I'm really not going to consider that. I thought the seal was sealing like 70%. No, it's sealing like 80%, which means that it's at least a 5 times amp. That's at most a 5 times amp, I should say. But yeah. Nah, Bleach is pissing me off. I'm still going through it. I'm not going to make any content on it until I go through it. So the sound guy saying, where is he, and Lee under him trying to give him an uppercut? Yeah, Lee perception blitzed them. That's completely fine. Lee can perception blitz them. All good. I'm still talking about how the primary Lotus still couldn't fucking land before a guy was able to use an attack at the speed of sound to cushion it. Okay. Okay. So this hero of the Marines, headquarters, who lives in the Marines, legendary Marine to retire, resuming justice, blah, blah, blah. He has been tirelessly working and training the young Marines while capturing the future. Stars El Mapo, the strength that once cornered is still alive and well. That doesn't mean he's close to his prime, though. It's just saying that the strength that once cornered Roger. Yeah, okay. Even today, he trains relentlessly and keeps pirates from as to choose between life and death and honor and wavering. Okay. When he brings down his fist full of hockey, enough to power to release and turn into annihilated rocks and pirates together and became a hero. Cool. All right. I'll concede. He's close. He's at the very least. I'll at least concede that he's at the very least relative to his prime. I mean, he's fought Rogers for years. Cornering Rogers, at the end of the day, Rogers also said we've nearly killed each other multiple times. That's fine. Also, is this the slash that is this like the slash that gave Grimmjow that scar, by the way? I've been trying to figure out if that's the scar. I'm pretty sure that it is. Granted, why didn't Orihime just get rid of that scar when she regrows his arm? I don't know. Mind you, the characters themselves don't have the level of perception. Only Sasuke has the level to perceive Lee, but his reflexes are too slow. Because against Haku, Blitz Kakashi, who is relative to at least base Guy, Lee is slower than Guy and Kakashi, whom Naruto and Sasuke lost to. Yeah. Anyway, guys, I'm probably gonna leave it here. I was gonna try to read through some Boruto, but I'm probably gonna leave it here because I do have to head out. Let me back in the Discord, gang, and I need the power scaling my Yu-Gi-Oh cards. I'm willing to let you back in, Reaper, but you gotta watch out with like some of the text, man. Can Luffy use Toon Force in the TSO? I believe that he could, but you'd have to basically make the argument that like it's not on a destructive application of like the TSO. But if it is near him, I do believe he can turn it into rubber. He doesn't have to make contact with it. He just has to be near it, like with the buildings. Hey, look, it's Moegi. Actually, let me read through this real quick. Moegi, hey, do you know who I am? Master Moegi. Konohamaru-chan, okay. He hugs her. Konohamaru-chan. Oh yeah, Boruto can fly now. Can you send me the Discord link? You're gonna make me pay again. I'm not gonna make you pay again. If you guys were chatting before, you can send him a Discord link through that. That's fine. Power Scale Toriko. I have been asked to Power Scale Toriko by one of my mods. I'm going to look at it after I'm done with Bleach and probably after I'm done doing some game scaling. I'm going to start doing game scaling as well, but my next video is going to be the Can Naruto and Killer Bee either escape from or stop a Buster Call? And I'm probably also going to throw in an Admiral if they can do both. Luffy has showcased that he can alter the properties of attacks coming at him as well. Shinky's been restored back to himself. The Discord is if you can send it to me in like an hour. Can you read my comment above? I got you. In the One Piece, as people get older, they'll retain their strength and raw power, AP, while there are other stats go down. I don't know if it's just like strength and AP that's necessarily staying. I do think that like, but it's also like a consistent, because the thing that like really like makes me apprehensible about like Garp even being as strong as he was is that like age is a consistent age is a consistent thing within all of One Piece that's shown that, like, as characters do age, they do get weaker. I'm willing to consider the narrative. I'm still willing to consider that the narrative that, like, all characters that have gotten older, even if I don't see you. All characters that have gotten older have shown some level of regression in their abilities besides the Gorosei, who obviously have some level of immortality hacks because of Imu. Yeah, Shinki's been restored back to himself, and Gaara is alive. He's not injured, but he's injured but not critically. He hasn't woken up due to the sealing jutsu yet, but he's expected to soon. That's good to hear. Shikamaru, the elders are calling. I'll be right there. I don't see any bone or muscle atrophy. There's no organ issues. The only thing is that your chakra flow is sluggish, likely from that tree having fed on you. So overall condition has been summed up into a mild malnutrition. Just eat lots and get plenty of rest. A few. So sorry to take that. Thank you. There are some Lightspeed statements. Mifune Lightspeed Slash. The Mifune Lightspeed Slash specifically shows him with the Nine Tails chakra. Kirin is stated to be Lightspeed. Itachi's Water Bullets, as I've mentioned before, are not Lightspeed. They are contradicted by another Lightspeed statement that says they're Lightning Speed, which is more closely related to it. Darui's Light... Kirin can be Lightspeed, but it's entirely contradicted by the manga statements. Darui's Light Rays can be Lightspeed. That's all completely fine. I don't care if they are. He himself is not Lightspeed. His attack can be Lightspeed. Haku's mirrors are not Lightspeed. He just has the capacity to move at the speed of light between the mirrors. And the Light Bang, a 10 Tails Madara attack, is the fastest quantifiable jutsu that he has. I am not going to believe that a beam that comes out of his mouth that cuts all things at the speed of light is also as fast as Itachi's Water Bullets, and Kakashi somehow able to dodge that, because that would be inconsistent with the rest of the speed scaling of the verse. Not true. Anyway, in an overall sense, but in all-out power, I don't see racist memes. By the way, Red here, thank you for the 10. Thank you so much, man. Zaraki got his Kenpachi title from beating another previous Kenpachi, by the way, so people had to have beaten Unohana after Zaraki, but according to her, that didn't happen. It doesn't make any sense. I don't think it makes any sense. Memes, if you can't handle basic humor, just get off the internet. This is what I pick up from the Yonko fans. You guys used to glaze Garp. I've never glazed Garp in my life. But now when you're using him for Admiral Agenda, now you're down. I've never downplayed Garp. I don't downplay Garp. I'm going by the narrative of the story over a single supplementary source. It's like taking a statement from a data. It's like taking the statement from a data book over the narrative, over the actual statement from the story. It's like the same issue that people have with stating that Kirin is Lightspeed, or the attack that Kirin comes down at the speed of light, even though Zetsu said that it uses the power of lightning and uses it 0.001% of a second, or a second, which means it's faster than the speed of sound. You either have to take a supplementary source statement over the actual narrative of the story, which says that all characters that age, especially at Garp's age, which is about that of Whitebeard, of what's his face, of fuck, not Shiki the Lion, fuck, Whitebeard, Don Chinjao, etc. You do understand you sound like a child, right? My picture wasn't there when Eon apparently... You make a Jonko agenda. What happened? I'll never forgive Swag for spreading that misinformation. What misinformation? You do understand? Okay. I'm just gonna ignore all that. No problem. Just get well quickly, eh? Hey, you have a minute? Okay. Good job out there. Your mission, it was rough, wasn't it? Oh, yeah. Kinda. Sumire, may I call you that? How much longer will I stay just a class rep to you? Sure. I want to apologize. I've been insensitive about a lot of things. No, I'm sorry for suddenly saying such rude things to you. At the time, I was shocked. I didn't want to say what I didn't know what to say, because what you said, every single bit of it was absolutely true. I was a coward for hiding from it. Your feelings and my own lack of power. I was avoiding facing the reality that was right in front of me. Remember when you asked me once, and doesn't it bother you, Sarada, that other girls might like Boruto too? Huh, seriously? Of course not. I wasn't lying, not back then. I had utterly no interest in Boruto at that point. He didn't take up any space in my thoughts, but one day I realized I was spending more and more time thinking about him. You know, trouble seems to follow him. He's always in a bind, constantly worried about him and one of his teammates, but before long I started to be confused about whether or not my feelings only existed because we were on the same team or because it was more. But spending energy obsessing over things made me a complete loser, which made me wonder whether I had any right to try to still become Hokage. You misunderstand. You're probably deluding yourself subconsciously, Sarada. But you see, I decided to stop running. I also like Boruto. Fucking hell. Goddamn. Me wanting to help him will only make me stronger. It makes me think like I can become Hokage. Those are my feelings. I already knew long ago how you felt, Sarada. It was totally obvious. Back at you, Sumire. But thank you for telling me directly. So from this point on, I'm not going to hold back anymore. Right back at you. No way. How dare you have such super intensive convo when I'm not present? Hey, come on. Come in, sensory unit. Please contact me stat with those girls. She's training inside fucking Kurama? She's doing fucking mental train. Oh, that's such bullshit. That ain't the way. You don't get it at all. Listen, don't rely on arm strength when throwing punches, and don't kick using your leg strength. Your chakra accomplish it all through chakra control. Better control than your average shinobi. I know that. I am a ninja, you know. Nope, you don't understand a thing. For you are no ordinary shinobi. In fact, you're even a little different from a Jinchuriki. Those who host Biju inside of them. You are human, and yet, if anything, you are more similar to me and Jura, huh? Listen, I'm not talking about what you are and aren't. The point is solely what fighting style you should adopt. This is just a basic intro. Forget everything you know. Think of yourself as a personification of chakra in human form. It'll lead you from there. That's easy for you to say. I can't even begin to imagine that. I'm tired. We're done for today. Oh, hey, wait, Kurama. Okay. Hey, damn it, Kurama. That wasn't done talking to you. Okay. Okay, what's gotten into you to make you come out to seek me, seek me out? You freeloader, as sulky as ever, I see. I am deeply despairing because you failed to die yet again and keep going on living. I should have left things well alone that day. Kawaki killed you. With reincarnation no longer possible, and with me unable to take over your mind either, there is only one thing my poor homeless soul decides now: to be freed of this curse via your death and become nothing. I'm here to ask you something. Could you consider lending me a hand? Don't make me laugh. Be gone. Just hear me out. I do plan to compensate you. If we are able to take down Jura, I'll give you my body. You can have everything you want. But it's likely Boruto himself hasn't picked up on how we feel about him. Likely. Oh, he definitely has no clue. Though, honestly, that's what's endearing about him. That's crazy. Alright. So, Himawari is more close to a fucking tailed beast? Alright. I guess they're fucking explaining that now. Whatever. You'll say statements don't matter, and this is in fact Garp's prime and old power, but when it's a statement that a Yonko is stronger than the Admirals, I never say it. Okay, when has it ever been stated that a Yonko is stronger than an Admiral? When has that ever been stated? When has it ever been stated that a Yonko is stronger than an Admiral? I have made the claim that based on previous information, based on every single encounter between an Admiral and a Yonko, yes, I believe that Yonko are stronger than Admirals. 100%. I have never once said, or even remotely implied that it is stated somewhere within the context of One Piece that a Yonko is stronger than an Admiral. Don't go putting in words in my mouth. I am willing to go more for the narrative of the story, which has consistently implied that characters that have aged in One Piece lose their power and are not equal to their primes, than a single statement saying Garp's power is what did it say exactly? Where is it? Needless to say, the strength that once cornered Roger is still alive and well. That doesn't specifically say that he's at his prime. You can interpret it as such. That's completely fine. I'm not, I swear. You can say that, you can completely interpret it as that. I'm not going to tell you not to. I have no reason to believe that means that he's still as strong as in his prime. He could have cornered Roger when they both weren't in their prime. That's also completely fine. Admirals versus Naruto. Naruto can't hurt the Admirals. It's just that simple. I wonder if Blackbeard will end up killing an Admiral down the line. If so, it'll probably be Kizaru due to the whole light can't escape a black hole. I don't think it'll be that. I don't think that'll be the case. I feel like that's too on the nose. I'm gonna read King and Omega on my own time. Actually, I'm actually starving right now. I've only had breakfast, so I will catch you guys on later. Thank you guys so much for all the donations. Thank you guys so much for coming back here. I appreciate each and every one of you, regardless of whether or not we agree or disagree. And I'll catch you guys all in the next time. I'll be streaming again Friday 8 p.m. with Steinixos. It's a second. I will always consider the main canon narrative over a secondary source unless it's directly either complements it, but if it's directly contradicting something, I'm not really going to consider it. Naruto has the necessary elements to counter most of them. What necessary elements does he have? Because Aokiji has fought... Aokiji was able to scar up Akainu, who has magma that counters ice. He fought Ace and overpowered Ace, who is fire. Naruto... You'd have to argue that Naruto's AP is somehow greater than Aokiji, who, if you want to upscale him to the same extent as a Yonko, is beyond continental. Naruto does not have a single continental feat or statement. If you want to talk about a quote-unquote water-style Rasengan, which I don't think Naruto has, or at least he hasn't seemed to shown the capacity to use any of the other tailed beasts' abilities since we got into Boruto, unless I might be missing something. Has he used a lava-style Rasengan since we've gone into Boruto? Because if we're talking Sage of Six Paths Naruto, definitely does not... I don't definitely have no reason to believe that Naruto's even remotely as strong as these guys. It's canon material, bruh. What's the canon material? We're arguing different things right here. What's canon material? What's the canon material? What's the canon material? What's the canon material that says these guys are continental? These guys can destroy a continent. What's the continental feat? He used the lava style Rasen Shuriken against Delta? What chapter is that? Let me see that. I'm 100% willing to be wrong on that. I will 100% be willing to be wrong on that. I do not recall him using a lava style Rasengan. That was okay. Chapter 25. No, that's Two Blue Vortex. My apologies. Burrito. Oh, Boruto, Naruto Next Generation. He fights Delta in what chapter? What, it's like 24? Okay, so she should be going after them around some point here. Okay. This should be a little bit later then, right? Yeah. Like, let's see, 20... Okay. Okay, so Delta shows up around this point, right? The fuck? Okay, no. This should be a little bit afterwards. Yes. When does Delta show up? She shows up. Okay, beautiful. Absorbs a Rasengan. Cool. Absorbs a Rasengan. Kicks her down. Sage of Six Paths mode. Tries to grab her. Pushes her away. Okay. Uses his own attack against him. Cool. Oh, he does. Okay, so he does have... Oh, so he still has the capacity to do it. That's completely fine. I read it years ago. I still remember. Yeah. Eon, yeah. L memory for me. 100% agreed. L memory for me. That's 100% true. My apologies, guys. Madara's meteors. Why are these things continental? Why are these things continental? Where is it stated for them to be continental? What did they destroy a continent? They were fighting on a continent. I'll give you that. So he can use a water-style jutsu on them. He wouldn't know that he has to use specifically water-style ninjutsu on them. Naruto solos, I swear they get vaporized. They wouldn't get damaged by the Biju bombs. They would also evade the Biju bombs. We need a proper rant. Bro, I already went on a rant. I'm not doing another one. If you go off of Naruto's logic, his wind style counters and L's lightning. Only Naruto logic, though. 100%. But Enel's also natural lightning, not chakra-based lightning. Shinra Tensei needs about large country to multi-continental energy to use. Why does it need large country to multi-continental energy? Where is that even remotely specified? Where is that even remotely specified? I don't look at calcs because calcs are either A, made by pixel scaling, which I don't agree with because Kishimoto, because people get the tailed beasts to be the size of like 50 meters tall, and arguably counter because he can damage the soul. Depending on what version of Ichigo we're talking about. Because if you're arguing like a specific version of Ichigo that can like, that isn't like as fast as the Admirals, they could potentially just move their bodies around the blade, and I don't know if that exactly moves around the soul. That's one of those like weird discussions I don't know how I can have. Weren't going so fast that the impact as big as it could be. The curvature of the planet versus planet's Six Paths Shinra Tensei. Here's the thing. Okay, I'm gonna make this very simple. You can use calcs. I have no issue with anybody using the calcs that they want to use. I have no issue. Those calcs mean absolutely nothing to me. Here's what I use. Let's just go down here. Yeah. Here's what Pixel calcs, pixel and math calcs are all head canon. I base every bit of my scaling based on what statements are implied within the context of the story. If an attack blows up a mountain, I am willing to consider that attack to be at the very least powerful enough to destroy a mountain. Hence, the Biju are mountain level. Could you get the Biju to anything like island level or whatever the hell? Sure, if you want to. I have no reason to believe that. For what reason should I believe it? Because what? Blowing up a mountain has the energy to blow up an island? No, that doesn't make any sense to me. Madara throwing down a giant meteor looks impressive. I hope you do know calcs are crucial. Calcs are crucial if you want to go by all this extra stuff. I don't need any of this stuff. I can tell you Luffy is continental because a guy who is weaker than Luffy can split a continent. A guy who can beat Luffy can split a continent. A guy like, I don't know, Goku can destroy a macrocosm the size of... Actually, I should probably have it in like the Dressrosa. Let me see if I can have it right here. A guy like Goku can, with his punches, destroy the fabric of a universe. Where the fuck is it? Sake, blah, 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 blah. Where the fuck is the Tanden Ginger stuff? Oh, right here. This continent is known as an ice sheet. Split a continent. Later on, Don Chinjiao tells his own grandson, you have finally awakened your power. That foot of yours is powerful enough to split a continent device. That's how I scale. I don't care about pixel calcs. I don't care about pixel calcs because you can't take into account human error. You have some pixel calcs that make the tailed beasts bigger than 17 meters tall, even though Gamma Bunta is 17 meters tall and about as large as a tailed beast. Gamma Bunta is 17 meters tall. Gamma Bunta is as large as the other tailed beasts. All the other tailed beasts are about 17 meters tall. I'm not gonna hear some weird scaling about Gamma Bunta being over 100 meters tall because the trees around him should be XYZ tall. No, as far as I'm concerned, this is 17 meters. This is 17 meters. A lot longer, let's say like what? 34, 40 meters if you throw in like the entire length of Shukaku with the tail. Maybe if you want to make it bigger than that, but no. I have no reason to believe that him or any of the other tailed beasts are anything even above this. Kurama, I could give him like 34, 40 meters because he's twice as big as all the other tailed beasts. That's fine. Shukaku's a little bit bigger. You want to say what? 17, 20 meters tall? Sure. Make Kurama 40 meters tall. I don't care. It's not a continent. It is stated verbatim to be a continent of ice. It is stated multiple times verbatim to be a continent of ice that is so tough pickaxes and fire cannot scratch it. He is splitting in half a continent that, again, is tougher than the very ground we walk upon, the very ground that the tailed beasts destroy. I'm not saying they can't destroy that continent of ice. I'm just saying it is tougher than that. I thought you said that manga supersedes data book statements. I did. When does... Okay. And when is it ever stated in the manga that Gamabunta size? When is Gamabunta size ever stated in the manga? I have no... There is nothing else for me to go off of. If I have nothing else for me to go off of, I have to use supplementary sources. How tall is Gamabunta then? Is it ever stated within the context of the series? Not really. Shouldn't Gamabunta be much larger than that by that logic? Not necessarily. Not necessarily. Gamabunta is stated in a canon piece of source to be 17 meters tall. Gamabunta height. Gamabunta is stated to be in a data book a 15 times taller than Jiraiya, 94 feet, 29 meters. That's not true because a canon piece of source right here says he's 17 meters tall. Nothing within the entire context of Naruto. Again, nothing within the entire context of Naruto. Not a statement is ever even remotely implied to say that Gamabunta is anything bigger than 17 meters tall. If it's not in the main canon source, I have to go to something else, in this case, the data books. I'm not going to go into pixel scaling because pixel scaling is somebody's approximation of how tall something could be. I don't care how tall somebody else says it. I care how tall an author says it. If you can get an approximation for how tall Gamabunta should be and get Kishimoto to write off on that, I will agree with it 100%. I don't agree with people who aren't the author. Is it possible for summons to change size? They can change size, sure, but I have, again, nothing else to go off of. Again, I have nothing else to go off of. Sure, if you want to say that Gamabunta can shrink himself down, yeah, some of the summonings can shrink themselves down, but once again, this is the only size I have to go off of. I have no other size to go off of. There's no other statement that says Gamabunta is twice as big as this, even if this version of Gamabunta is bigger than this version of Gamabunta, that says it's 17 meters tall, guess what? It's not stated anywhere. I have no way to approximate it. I have no way to gauge that. I could tell you it's twice as big. Splitting continent doesn't mean you're continental. It's mountain level. Why would it be mountain level? How do you gauge that? It's not destroying the whole. It's splitting a continent of ice that is tougher than the very ground we walk upon. Yeah, no, it's continental. I'm going to believe the statement that says they're continental. I'm not going to believe somebody's random calculation that says, oh, this attack should have the attack potency to destroy the planet. I don't give a fuck about that. Please learn power scaling. I am power scaling. I am using power scaling. You can use whatever methods you want to power scale. I'm not going to tell you you're wrong. I'm just going to tell you you're not going to convince me by that. If you don't like it, you don't have to interact with my channel. That's completely fine. I'm not going to tell you you're wrong. I'm just going to tell you, I don't believe calcs. I don't have to believe those calcs. When I say I can get Luffy, to 9,000 times faster than the speed of light with just Gear 4 by the time of the rooftop fight, I don't say that because, oh, I'm using some pixel calc. I'm using that because I'm using statements from the story to quantify something. If I can quantify it through the story, I will use it wholeheartedly. If it's not stated anywhere, for example, when has Naruto destroyed a planet? Never. He's never destroyed a planet. He's never come anything close to. But there was a statement from Kishimoto that says Naruto can blow up a planet. So I do agree. Naruto can blow up a planet. That I can agree with. Way to keep the stream going. Yeah. Pain is 7,000 from calcs. You can get that. That number means absolutely nothing to me. That number that he's 7,000 times faster than light means absolutely nothing to me. Absolutely nothing to me. There's no way you can get that. Imagine end of series Naruto. Okay? If you're going to use pixel calcs, those numbers mean absolutely nothing to me. Those numbers, as far as I'm concerned, are headcanon. I go by whatever numbers I can quantify from the series. That's why I go by multipliers. I go by multipliers. That's why I say Luffy is at the very least 10 times FTL if he's using second gear. If he's using second gear, PTS. How do I get that number? If second gear, PTS. Why? He dodges a beam of light in space. Second gear stated to be at 10 times amp to speed and strength. He dodges a beam of light. He's 10 times FTL. That's how I get my scaling. So then they're capped at continental then? No, they're not capped at continental then. I go from however much stronger Luffy is than these guys, using multipliers from second, fourth, fifth gear, whatever. That's how I get my numbers. What's the true size of Zunesha? They've changed that shit so many times, I have no fucking clue. Kaguya destroying a dimension and Naruto going toe-to-toe and tanking almost a moon planet level attack. Kaguya was going to destroy a dimension using an attack that nullifies ninjutsu in a dimension that was developed by a ninjutsu. Yeah, no, I don't believe that she's powerful enough to destroy a universe, a solar system, even a star. It's all derived from a ninjutsu. Using an ability that nullifies ninjutsu, that just expands on its own. Yeah, okay, he's tanked a moon level attack, that's completely fine, he can tank that. That's completely fine. No, because Dofi blocked a continental attack in Gear 4 Luffy broke it in G4. Do you think Jack the Drought is stronger than Doflamingo? 100%. I don't think Doflamingo is stronger than any single commander from an admiral, from a Yonko. I believe the ice continent being a mountain is argued by Sage, saying the size of the continent was never stated. I'm just saying it's the size of a continent. And the size of a continent is One Piece is absolutely fucking massive, considering that islands are the sizes of countries. Bro, it was a dimension, so that would create... Yeah, it's just expanding infinite. It's just expanding endlessly, but it's still just negating nullifying a ninjutsu, which it is. It is a ninjutsu. Why was there a star? Because everything that came from the dimension. I don't calculate. I don't base my scaling based on what's inside the dimension. Because guess what? By that logic, Kamui dimension's just as big as it. The Kamui dimension's just as large. It's like saying the Kamui dimension is an infinite-sized realm as well. It could have a star in it. I don't care. It all comes with Ame no Minaka. What did he tank? Nothing? What do you mean, what tank? So what did Luffy tank? What are you talking about? What did Luffy tank? So chakra is everything? Chakra isn't everything. It's just creating pocket dimensions. Is splitting a tough continent isn't continental. Splitting a hollow piece of rock isn't moon level. I guess. What headcanon? What are you talking about? Anyway, I'm done. Like I said, you can agree with the scaling. You don't have to agree with the scaling. You can disagree with the scaling. I don't really care. If you don't like the scaling, you are more than welcome to not interact with the channel. I have no qualms with that. Anyway, guys, I will catch you all later. Peace out. I don't think Jack the Drought is just hated because of the shit that he did to the Minks. Do you think the Upper Moons beat a disaster curses? Fuck no. The Upper Moons are trash. Upper Moons are... I'll put it like this. I have no reason to believe any of the Upper Moons are even remotely as strong as most JJK characters. They used cannon size of a river to come up with the size. There's nothing about Demon Slayer that is even remotely impressive to me, in my opinion. Like, if you were to tell me to put Muzan versus Sukuna, Muzan is getting torn to shreds. A bit crazy to say that we can discuss this later, though. Yeah, no, we can talk about this later. I really need to go because I really need to go. Stay safe out there, guys. Whether or not we disagree or agree, stay safe out there, guys. I really do hope each and every one of you have a wonderful rest of your night. I will talk to you all later. Peace out. All you need is a Molotov cocktail and a shotgun to defeat the demons besides Muzan. I know, Lapis, I know. Luffy ran tank shit. It's disgrace. Who did he run from? Who the hell did he... What are you talking about? Who did he run from? I don't know, man. I don't care. Have a good night, guys. See you guys.